Hello, brother.
Hey, Chop. How's it going, buddy?
All right, man. What a fun episode that first one was,
It
huh? We
really
got some
was.
laughs on that one.
Yes.
Don't fear
Uh,
the reaper.
yeah, that's good. I think we have to.
Yeah,
It's just too good. Even though we didn't coin the phrase, I guess it's probably
it's so
someone.
appropriate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's perfect for what we did. Oh man.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Hey, Curran. How's it going, man?
What? No. Okay. Sorry, I was did you not see my scowl? I was like pretending to be mad.
No, it was good. I liked it. Yeah, I like the new blue color too. You got some blue in the beard.
What? No, no, that no, I think that's the light off
The
the
lighting.
Oh, okay.
little
It is
camera.
a
Yeah.
lighting. I see it now. Okay, it's
Yeah,
moving
no, yeah,
around.
wait, there it is, there it is.
There it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, look,
Yeah.
yeah, no, no, no. No, not dyeing the beard, sorry.
Okay.
Good to see
Verboten.
you. Good to see you, Curran.
Good to see you too, man.
Yeah.
You are doing some recording in the studio between legs, right?
Yeah, yeah. I got a band from Florida called Gothic Prophet. I worked with them 2.5 years ago on a single called Sovereign Suicide. Did some guitar playing for him, did a little solo work on that single, and then mixed it for him. And then they reached out, oof, 2 years ago about, hey, you want to do the record? Sure, of course, I'd love to do the record. And so they finally, were able to book time and get up here at the beginning of this month. So right after I got done with tour, I had like 4 or 5 days off from the Venom Inc., the 2 months with Venom Inc. And I've been holed up in the studio ever since, in case you can't tell from the dead fish white suntan
Yeah.
I have.
It's perfect Northern Ohio suntan for spring, you
Good
know?
Lord. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been working on that record now for 3 weeks. They have they hired me to write a couple songs for the album, and that was cool, getting to kind of get out of my normal wheelhouse of stuff. And then Frank Rizzo, God damn it, Mark Rizzo from Soulfly and Cavalier Conspiracy. He wrote a couple tunes, and they flew him in to play guitars and do some solo stuff on the other songs. So it's like a 10-song album, and
Nice.
Nice.
Mark did a whole bunch of great solos on there, and he played guitar on his two songs and bass and got all that stuff done. And he and I
Is
just
it,
ended up hanging out and shooting the shit, talking about Yngwie and Eddie Van Halen for 3 days. So
well,
yeah,
that sounds
almost
horrible.
almost a paid vacation.
Almost terrible. That sounds horrible. So was it one of his projects? Is that why he's involved with the record or?
No, they contacted him, their management. So their manager, Distilled Entertainment out of San Diego, the owner of that company, Ryan Reyes from been a friend of mine for 25, maybe 30 years. I produced a record for his band back when I lived in Seattle, his band called Vengeance. And we've just been friends ever since. So anytime I come through on tour in San Diego, he comes out, we hang out, have drinks, all reminisce about
Mhm.
touring together and all that good fun stuff. And so he reached out about the single, um, that Sovereign Suicide single years ago, and then he negotiated and worked out all the details to get their debut record. Or well, I don't know if it's their debut record, but it's like uh, it feels like a debut record. So, but yeah, so he negotiated everything for having me write songs and produce the record. And I'm actually have ended up like redoing all the guitars and all the bass on the record on all the songs, because they're all like MIDI guitars.
Oh, okay. Not not running in a direct mic. Are they direct micing it or?
No, no, it's like programmed keep like guitars that are done with MIDI.
Oh,
So it's not
oh,
like
not
not
real.
real guitar. And
Okay.
I'm sitting here listening to it, and I'm and the band is aware of this. They know and everything, and they thought it was good. And I think that just a little inexperienced, a little green maybe, and they thought, oh, well, we can do this really cool thing with these MIDI guitars. And I reached out to Ryan about, like, dude, let me send you a sample of me retracking it. And he sent it to the band, and they were kind of like, oh yeah, can he do that? All right.
Yeah.
So I'm
Cool.
playing, most all the guitars are done anyway, so now it's just about the last stages of prep for mix and everything, but we're still waiting on real drum tracks and stuff, and so
Mhm.
it might not be done. Their goal was to have it done at the end of this month, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So they know about my schedule, they're aware. They don't have a brutal deadline, but management wanted it done so they could start
Mhm.
shopping it through the summer, and so they could gear up for like a fall release to plan for a 2026 spring set of tours and festivals. But at the very least, I'm going to be able to get like rough mixes of some of the stuff to management. So that, again, I already had those discussions, and they're like, yeah, that'll be fine as long as we got rough mixes, so the labels will know like what's happening.
Mhm.
And then they'll know that, oh well, Curran Murphy, Venom Inc, he's out on tour, and he's the guy that we hired to produce it and all that stuff. So it's just logistics, and if only there were you know 37 hours in a day instead of only four,
Right.
then
Right.
Lisa would still never get to see me. So,
Oh man.
but
I'm just really glad that to finally get to see you in Venom Inc. being able to play, and you guys put on such a good show, and it's high
thanks,
energy,
man.
and it's a great fit. That was just such a fun night.
Awesome. It was really cool. I was really excited all the people that came out for the Cleveland show and the Columbus show. We technically played two home stage shows for Curran.
Hmm.
And it was really awesome. All the guys in the Cleveland scene that I know, and coming out on, I think it was what, a Tuesday or something, or a Monday.
Yeah, yeah, Tuesday, I
And
think.
you know, uh, it's one of those funny things where I know that they're all friends of mine, and they all support and this and that, but I also know that it's like, well, dude, hey, bro, it's not Mantis, and I don't know, man. I mean, I know you're a great guitar player, but I don't know. I just, they're doing that thing, and couple songs in, I'm sitting there playing, and I'm looking out in the crowd, and I see some of those guys, and they're all like, they're like, "Oh, cool, they're having a good time, yeah,
Hmm.
fucking, I fucking won some of the guys in the Cleveland scene. All right,
Nice.
because Cleveland doesn't give it up easy, man. You got to earn that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wish that no class would invest a little bit more into their sound system. Musically you can hear everything, but the vocals I get buried every time I've gone
Mm.
there, and maybe they just don't have I don't know what the deal is, but and I like when you were playing there afterwards, Tony said, "Well, how do we sound?" I said, "Well, you sounded great, but your vocals were so low." And he said, "Well, the PA just couldn't handle it, between the music, that just vocals, it just wasn't cutting it." I know a couple other bands have said the same thing.
Well, I know how hard Emma works to make that place as awesome as she can, and so I'd be shocked if she wasn't aware of maybe the shortcomings of the PA. And if she doesn't have a goal to like work forward towards, a more robust PA system, I'd be shocked if she didn't have that plan somewhere on her agenda. Because I just constantly see the effort that her and all the people that work there put in, and they've got Noah from Nunslaughter, who's also a great record producer.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of his studio though, and that's not me being an asshole. I just can't fucking remember the name of his studio. But Noah's a badass. He knows how to run live sound and how to make a record like a motherfucker. And he runs house sound there. I think regular when he's not on tour with Nunslaughter. And I know he has other projects, but I'm not sure what those are. So I'm just going to mention the one that I do know. So I'm not talking out of school.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
But you know,
We can cut any of this out if you don't want us
no, no,
to.
no, no, no. I just, I always credit where credit's due, and Noah's a badass. And then our front of house that we brought with us, Sarah, she's a total monster pro. So I know that they were doing everything they could to make that PA work. And, sometimes for some bands, like, a big, loud, silly three-piece like Venom Inc., the vocals might get a little buried.
Hmm.
It happens, but I know that they have a new console in there, and I know that they replaced the two big main topside speakers, and I know that they've improved the amplifiers in there. So it could just be like a step process for
Yeah.
No Class and for Emma. Like, yeah, we'd all love to, I'd love to drop another $100,000 into my recording studio, but that's gonna take time.
Sure. Right.
It's,
Sure.
the studio's good, studio's great, all my gear's good. I don't need to do this, but boy, I'd really like that Neve console for 100 grand. Ooh. Not that I fucking need it. I got enough
Right.
cool shit here to make great sounding records, but man, it'd be really cool to have that. Nah, well, So
Right.
yeah, and yeah, so I always applaud No Class and Emma. I really
Mhm.
think that she does it right for the local scene,
Mhm.
for the Cleveland scene, bringing in international and national bands, promoting the shit proper, and doing everything she can to
Mhm.
make sure the shows are good, the bands are taken care of. Even
Yeah.
something as simple as her giving a fuck about having the parking area in front of the venue clear for us to pull up with our bandwagon.
Yeah.
Instead of like, well, you just have to fucking deal with it. Like, oh, okay, we'll hump in all the gear from 3 blocks away.
Right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to play here again. I'll leave that club unnamed. But
Right.
yeah, so yeah,
So I love No Class. I love the venue, and I like that it's small and it's intimate and it's just right in your face.
yeah,
And I like that you can kind of go back and forth. Like you could sit on the bar side and still just hear great music,
yeah,
or if you just want to take a break, it does get packed. That's very
yeah,
easily because you're
yeah.
packed in like sardines because it's a small space, but
Well, yeah, and that
it's
that
really, really
that
great.
gives that place an energy and a vibe that is impossible to duplicate any other way. When you're on tour and you have to walk through the crowd and climb up on the stage, that that puts you in the soup. And I love that. And you were saying about like with the split thing with the bar on one side and the
Hmm.
the music part of it on the other. Corner just played there
Hmm.
and they were sold out. And I messaged Emma, and I just said, hey, I know it's sold out, but there's a lot of people going to the show that have tickets that I know that are friends of mine. Is it cool if Lisa and I just go up and just hang at the bar? Like I don't need to get in. I'm not asking for guest list or any of that bullshit.
Hmm.
I don't want to. Hey Emma, it's Curran
Hmm.
from Venom Inc.
Hmm.
I'd like to be on the guest list. No, no, that's not a fucking move that I pull, right? But she's like, well, hey, if the band doesn't use up all their guest list, I'll see about putting you and Lisa on. Oh, thanks, and so we were at the bar, hanging out, having fun, talking with friends, and so many people came into town for that show.
Hmm.
Corner, Jesus, they haven't played the U.S. in 30 fucking years, and when Corner was getting ready to play, Emma came up with wristbands. She's like, "Here, you and Lisa, you guys go ahead." Oh, fuck yeah! So again, Emma is awesome about how she runs the club and how she treats the people that that come to her venue. So it's really, really was fucking cool.
That's great.
And then Corner got up there and just killed. They were so great. I was actually really mad at them because they were so good. I was sitting there watching the guitar player going, "Hey Dick, you're not playing on any of the dots. Do you think you're fancy or something?" No, the mark of a great guitar player when they don't use the dots. They're like, "Oh, I don't need those. Everyone uses the dots."
I know where my fingers are going.
Yeah. No, he's like, I'll be playing in the key of Z minor, arpeggio B. What? Guy who knows stuff. Yeah, they were really good too. That was a fun show.
I want to hear some of that custom audio mutations. Audio.
Yeah.
I've never released any of that stuff yet. I'm total chump on that shit. I should, but I just haven't found the time yet.
If you need another guitar player who's not nearly as good as you, Choptop plays guitar. And if you need a drummer who used to be
Yeah.
really good but hasn't played for 20 years, I'm your man. So
Oh no. A,
if that's
a,
not a great elevator
We,
pitch, I don't know what
we could
is.
call we
a,
call it we could call it slop rock. Yeah.
to begin with, I already have a natural hatred for guitar players, and that includes myself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
we
nice guitar. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
I like
Yeah,
the
this is my Ibanez gem that I had.
I thought it was a gem because of the hand cutout there. So nice.
Yeah, yeah. I got this when I was 19, 1993,
Sweet.
and I've had it ever since. It's been on every record I've ever produced, or it's like guitar solos and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Justin's unable to make it, but
Okay.
so that's good. I think that must be Mark. Yes.
we got
Ah,
Mark.
there.
Oh,
There we go. I'm like, that's something coming through in the dark.
hello. How we
Hey, how
doing?
are you? Good. How are
Hello.
you doing, man?
Yeah, yeah, good man, good.
Good. We're
What's going
excited,
on?
but we're just having a good time chatting and just waiting for you everyone to show up, and yeah, we're just ready to have a good time. It's gonna be a fun episode.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I was
So
telling Curran,
here
like,
is
after the next tour leg, we're gonna have you on for an interview.
okay.
With not
Nice.
so that'd be
That'll
great.
be great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm up for that.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Great.
So we're just waiting for
The
Tony.
man himself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
just
So what we?
sent an update to the chat, to the Venom Inc chat.
Yeah, I sent Tony a message about half an hour ago, and there's seen anything. Shall I
could
call
be
him?
out running around, could be out exercising, you know.
He's normally the 5 a.m. maniac.
I'll give him a quick call.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
2 seconds.
Our last episode we were doing, Curran, at one we did a couple hours ago, we were doing our Don't Fear the Reefer songs to celebrate 420 with. So
It's time to get high too. Yeah. Great.
our top 20 for 420.
Is that coming up?
We will just record it. It'll be out the week before 420.
Mhm.
So it'll come out then. Yep.
Really went well. A lot of fun.
It
Funny.
was. Yeah. And I found a new strain that I really like. Like, oh, fuck, that's good. Are you a baker, Curran?
No, I tried to develop a drug habit, and since I never smoked cigarettes as a kid, I never got into it as a teenager or anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first time I ever smoked weed, I was 23 and on the Autobahn in Germany on tour with the Nevermorons. And our tour manager Bobo, seriously, that was his name, Bobo, very sweet guy. He and our merch guy were rolling cigarettes, rolling what I later found out were called spleefs. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were just rolling them up and packing them in tins. And but they kept doing this thing. They had like this little brown kind of stick, and they would like hit it with the lighter and then crumble the end into the tobacco bit and then roll it up and then pack it away. And I'm like, what do you guys? I've never seen people roll cigarettes like that. They're like, no, these are not cigarettes. These are spleefs. I'm like, what the hell is a spleef? It's like, oh, well, it's, tobacco and marijuana and hashish. I'm like, oh, what's hashish? Like, I didn't know. I'm
Uh-huh.
complete. And I'm like, well, that's crazy, weird. And they're like, you want to smoke? And I'm like, well, I've never had before, but since I'm in Germany and it's legal, okay, I'll try it. And so they light one up, they light it up, and they each take a hit, and then they hand it to me, and I do the typical American thing that you see in all the Cheech and Chong movies. And instant, just where that thing where like your vision does this.
Yeah.
For people who smoke weed, you know that thing where it's like you
Yeah.
just see that little pinprick of light at the end of the drug tunnel. And instantly stoned, and they started laughing at me, and I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, we forgot you're an American.
Right.
'Cause they roll these things, they roll these spleefs and they smoke them all day like cigarettes, not like a
Right.
fucking Cheech and
Heavy,
Chong
heavy
bong event.
Yeah.
So yeah, so needless to say, I was ripped.
Yeah. I've only smoked flower one time, and but I smoke carts, and I just find them a nice way I can get the effects of all the strains without the smell and the cost and the, you know, because before I only smoked cigars. I was like Clinton,
Yeah.
I didn't inhale, but with this, like, wow, I'm loving
Yeah, he's
life.
not.
It's life is good. So what have you been doing in the weeks, between the downtime between your tours there, Mark?
Um, Teaching really, and well, my car broke down. It's completely fucked. I'm still paying for this car, so I'm chasing the company trying to get some sort of, I don't know, compensation for that. But yeah, just been teaching, working that way, and practicing songs that have been added to the new set, which seems to happen every single tour. But this time it seems to be a lot more songs than what I usually put into the set. So we're basically trying to kind of, get away from the Venom sort of stuff and bring more Venom Inc.
Mm-hmm.
material in more
Mm-hmm.
than ever,
Yeah.
and also bringing in a lot more of the Tony Demolition era Venom songs, because there's some great songs,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that they did, that lineup, really good.
Yeah. Oh, the Venom Inc.
You
albums
know,
are all great. I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That
Yeah.
sound is just still so there. It's such a great sound.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
Thanks, man.
even like what Mark was saying about like the Tony era Venom stuff, like Wastelands, Temples of Ice. There are a couple just ridiculously good songs on those records, and I think
Yeah,
we've been playing a lot of them, like Black Into the Priest, and Carnivorous, Parasite, and I mean Empire of Evil, not Empire of Evil, Prime Evil. I mean, that record, I've had more people come up to me and go, "That's the perfect Venom record. It's the great, it's amazing." I'm like, okay. And then, hey, Tony, how come we're not playing like all the songs off that record? Yeah, well, we just haven't worked on them yet. Like, all right, cool. And then, yeah, like Mark said, like, I got the new song list. It's like, okay, 75 songs, So yeah, and I gotta figure these things out. So that's
yeah,
that starts for me April 1st. Get get through this record I'm producing
April
and
Fools.
get back to real work.
Well, I was just happy to hear there were some songs that I really wanted to hear, and I was hopeful because you began the first time that you guys came into Cleveland. Well, you began with Witching Hour, which is I just absolutely love that song. And then
Yeah.
this tour you began with Ave Satanas, I believe, was the opening track.
Mm.
And but it just hearing both the Venom Inc. and the classic Venom songs, together. But I'm looking forward to seeing you move more toward original music and
Mhm.
current music, because those albums are great. And I know Tony had mentioned you got some new music on the way, so that's like really
That's
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, with this tour, we actually, for the first part of the tour, I guess like maybe the first 7 shows or something was started with Witching Hour, and then I kind of thought, well, it's called Beyond the Black. The tour is called Beyond the Black Tour. You've got the most recent album out, and There's Only Black is such a great song to start with, anyway.
Hmm.
So, I just thought it was obvious to start with that song, and then kind of punch in with the with Witcher Hour,
Hmm.
But yeah, There's Only Black is such a great song, and it has, it really does sound like a song that you would start with anyway. It would be like a first song in the set anyway. It's such a
Hmm.
strong song. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really important to do, especially with the new album as well.
Yeah. I like that. There's that first track on an album really sets a tone,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that's like kind of grew up being spoiled or thinking that all good bands did this, thinking like Iron Maiden, like when they came out, they always played that whatever the opening track was, whether it was Where Eagles Dare, Aces High, Caught Somewhere in Time, whatever that
Moonchild,
opening track,
yeah.
Moonchild, right? It just like, Maiden's gonna come out and do this, and that it was always so like if depending on that first track, it was like not every band did that, but
Right.
yeah,
Sets the tone right
yes,
away.
it does. It really does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think it should be that way. And anyway, whatever album you've kind of brought out, it should be, especially if it's a tour for that album, it should start off with the first song or a song from that album.
Hmm.
It just makes total sense to me.
It does.
And yeah,
Nice.
I know that the last US tour that Venom Inc. did, where they had Mike Hickey playing guitar. I know they were starting with a lot of the classic Venom songs, and it was really because that was the stuff Mike was most familiar with. And I will just start with Witching Hour and then do, Welcome to Hell and all this stuff. And midway through the set, they'd start getting in some of the Venom Inc. stuff. And so now I feel like Tony's kind of been let off the chain where, he's got, a new guitar player who I liking everything he's making us play. So it's like, I don't care. Fuck. Which one? Temples of Ice? All right, let me figure that one out. I don't care that it wasn't on, some split 7-inch from 1982. I don't care. Is it a cool song? Do people want to get wild when they hear it? Fuck it, let's play it. So I hope that's a fun thing for Tony, and like, oh, we can do this song, we can do that song, we can do this, because instead of just like, well, we'll just play all the same songs again and again and again and again.
Such a rich catalog to choose from. I mean,
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, literally, oh God, Tony was Tony does his little morning walkie videos to the gym, right? And he's like, oh, going through the set list, it's getting quite big. We could play for 3 hours. And I'm like, we could play for 3 hours. Mark might die, but we
Yeah.
could.
Well,
Well, dude, no. So the whole tour, all the 2 months we're out on the road for the first leg of this Beyond the Black tour. After every show, we get off the stage, and I think what was it, about an hour and 20 minutes every night? If we didn't do an encore. And so we'd walk off stage, and Mark is just drenched, just dripping sweat. And I'm like, I know that I jump around and move around and get wild, and I come off sweaty and stuff, but it's like the guy's throwing himself in a fucking pool and gone swimming in all of his stage gear. I'm like, what in the fuck?
That's
The
dedication.
drummers
Yeah.
do the real work in the band. As a drummer, I know what I'm talking about.
Maybe that's
So-
Mark. Is that why you always slept through load-in?
No, that's because you guys started bloody early before I could even, I'll set me alarm I'll set me alarm for a certain time, and then you've already been done.
Well, remember that one night, or there was, so on the whole tour, I started making the joke that we're all gonna nice guy ourselves to death on the fucking tour, because we were just. I've been on enough tours where it's like a week or two in, everybody wants to kill everybody, and this didn't happen. That didn't happen on this tour at all. Like there was one day where like nobody was around. It was time to load in, and so I just started loading in, and it was for no other reason than just it's time to load in. I just go and get it taken care of, and I loaded in all the gear, and then I felt like the next day, Tony was like, "All right, fuck you, Curran," and he didn't tell anybody. We were all on the bus. Well, loading's at 1, and he had loaded everything in at noon by himself. I'm like, we get off the bus, like, you son of a bitch. How dare you be nice and unload all the equipment without telling us? Like, nice guying ourselves to death. So the whole tour was kind of like that goofy vibe of everybody, like just everybody trying to help everybody. And like, it was great. Yeah, listen to me complain about everybody being nice.
Well, it's better than when you have like Oasis where they fight on stage.
Oh,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, just better than everything about Oasis. I mean, they're just
Well, yeah.
Well, but they,
That's
their content gets more clicks than ours.
that's right.
So apparently
Well, no
we're
accounting for good taste, right?
well,
Yeah.
amen.
Yeah. No, I just thought people were like lining up because they're going on tour again. I'm like, oh, why? Why the fuck would you care? You know?
You know,
And like this is 2 years away. I'm like, they got plenty of time to beat each other up on stage and fight again because they're dumb brothers. And
well, I want you know how if any of you guys have ever bought plane tickets, they always have that like, oh, and you can purchase flight insurance in case you have to cancel for $75. You can protect your $3,000 plane ticket investment. You know that thing. I wonder if Ticketmaster, if they didn't do that, they could probably make a killing on that tour. Like, oh, you bought your tickets? Well, for an extra $100, if the show gets canceled, you get all your fucking money back.
yeah,
They'd make
Yeah.
10 million free dollars.
Right.
Not that I want to give those pig suckers any fucking idea.
that's right.
Exactly.
Fuck them.
I was gonna say, yeah, don't say too much, Curran, because they're already ripping people off, like so.
I know, but hopefully that bubble will burst and everyone will stop wanting to buy Ticketmaster tickets.
I can't remember last time I think the last show I don't know if I was bought through Ticketmaster. It might have been like the Clockwork Angels tour. Might have been like, and everything else since then, I've been in small venues
I
like
can't
No
even
Class.
remember.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, that might have been the last like show.
Well, even when I
went to.
saw at Jacob's Pavilion this summer, Lamb of God and Mastodon show, fantastic and stuff. I
Yeah.
went through a secondary, ticket seller. It wasn't Ticketmaster, and I was like, "Yep, that's the way to do it." And they said within like 30 days you have your ticket. Well, it's getting like the day before I finally got them. They transferred. I'm like, I was getting a little nervous. I'm like, come on, I get
Yeah.
a day off. I'm
Don't make me
I'm ready
wait.
to rock, man. Let's get
Yeah, well,
going.
please tell me I didn't give all my credit card information to some guy in India
Yeah.
to steal my shit.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Would you like to buy extra insurance for your
Your ticket? Yeah. No, leave me alone. I'll take the chance.
Well, hey, I guess let's go ahead and get this thing on the road. How's that
Sure.
sound with you
Yeah,
guys?
we'll start it. We'll be another 10 minutes in, and then Tony will join us.
That's
And then
fine.
then
No
we'll
problem.
Yeah.
start over.
It's
And
all
that's
good.
okay.
No, yeah, it's good. All right, we're gonna do our great intro, and then we'll get on the roll.
You're listening to Heavy Metal Horror. This is Vanek of Vanek and Midnight and Vandalus and many others. See you soon.
I am Montag, master of illusion. What goes up must come down, but not always.
Yeah, this is Choptop, and this one's going to be a real live one. Stay heavy.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. And you are watching. That's what I was doing. I'm like,
You
oh,
fucked
I'm
up the
sneezing.
intro.
That's good. I'm like, no, here's coming. No, it's not gonna wait. You are watching and listening to heavy metal horror. Oh, kitties, tonight we've got a fun show. We've got 2/3 of Venom Inc. with us. That's right. We've got Curran Murphy and Marc Jackson. Curran and Marc. Well, Curran, welcome back to Heavy Metal Horror.
Mhm.
And Marc,
Thank-
welcome to Heavy Metal Horror.
Thanks for the return invite.
Thank you very much.
It's been
It's a
our
pleasure to be here.
pleasure. Yeah, it's
Yes.
our pleasure to have you on. We're hoping Tony will stop by. Maybe he's picking up some more Marmite for me. I don't know. Hashtag Marmite. Get your Marmite where Marmite is sold. But
Do you like Marmite?
I loved it. Yeah,
No way.
no,
Really?
we tried it.
Wow.
We put a video out on the channel. I'm like, because
Yeah.
I promised Tony I would try it because he said because that's what he brought it for me because the swap for the apple fritters. And I'm like, he goes,
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
gotta try it. I said, yeah, I'll put it out. I'll put a video out and doing a live taste testing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like a big salty punch in the face. It's beautiful. Yeah, I loved it.
Wow. Yeah, Marmite's very hit and miss from for people in this country.
It's
You-
literally it's illegal to import into certain states in America.
Really? Because it's
Wow.
yeast?
No.
Oh, I'm like, it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, we got some dumbass laws. That makes sense. It's too much flavor in some states, apparently. Yes. This won't go down to Texas. Well, tonight's show, kiddies, we are doing Live and Let Live 2. It's Alive 2. That's right. And we are going to be talking about some of our favorite live albums, and we're going to have a good time. All right, so Choptop,
Yeah.
tell us about your first pick
Okay.
of the
One
litter.
of my first picks is it's recorded history of the Low Tour by Testament. It's live at the Fillmore.
That
It
is awesome.
released
That
in
is a good choice.
released in 1995 under Burnt Offerings label, their own.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. The crowd's really into it. Man, James Murphy on guitar taking over for Skolnick, underrated guitar player. He's really well versed, really well. He played with Death as well and stuff. And then John Deddy on drums taking over for, was it Mike Tempesta, I believe, from the album. But the set list is really good. It's a little too short for my taste. I mean, I would have liked to hear. Oh, let me see. Get it up here.
Because it's
Greg-
one disc,
Greg-
right? They were probably
Greg,
just
yeah, it's
condensing
one-
it down to one disc.
One disc.
Yeah, that's all.
But it gives some class. The Preacher, Alone in the Dark, Burnt Offerings. Then you got the New Order. You got Low thrown in there, Into the Pit, which fucking love that song. Always have. Hail Mary, and then it finished with Dog Face Gods. But then the last three tracks are acoustic studio songs: Return to Serenity, The Legacy, and Trail of Tears. Now I love all three of those songs, but I would have preferred more live stuff on it, extended more. And kind of it goes off with Dogface Gods, which is a burner, but then you release three studio acoustic songs at the end. But otherwise, it's a great recorded history of that tour and with that lineup. So that's my first choice.
Excellent. Nice. All right, Karn, your first live album.
So my first live album is going to have to be Iron Maiden Live After Death. That was, for me, that was the introduction to Iron Maiden and the introduction to a whole nother flavor of heavy metal, other than, Metallica. I'm a 15, 16-year-old kid, and I don't know anything in Elkhart, Indiana. And you see that album cover, Eddie coming up out of the dirt, and then the intro, the Churchill speech, the airplane motors, and then, Aces High comes in. Scream for me, Long Beach. You can meme that all you want, but back then, man, scream for me, Long Beach, motherfucker. And I'll tell you right now, the last time I was in LA on vacation with my wife Lisa for our 10-year anniversary, we went. I took her to the Long Beach Arena because that's her favorite band is Iron Maiden. I'm like, hey, honey, guess what that is? She's like, what? I'm like, it's the Long Beach Arena, Live After Death. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's an actual place on this earth. So yeah. So and the song list on that album is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
I think the kids call it banger after banger on that record. There's not a turd in the bunch.
Nope.
And I know it was recorded over 2 days and everything at two different nights at the Long Beach, but god damn.
It was over
phenomenal.
4 nights. Over 4
Was it
nights at
4?
Long Beach. And then
Yeah,
there were
yeah,
two versions
I'm not
of
an
it.
authority, so I thought it was 2 nights.
It's just, well, I was obsessed with Iron Maiden at the time because that summer when that album came out, that was all we listened to while we were playing
That's
Dungeons
all
and Dragons.
that was for heavy metal fans.
Yes.
That was our Frampton Comes Alive
That was a fucking amazing album. It's still one of the best live albums of all time.
of ever.
And then there
My favorite of all
are
time.
2 versions of it because then there's the video version, which
Yep.
then we would watch that
I had the
concert
VHS,
over. We watched it so much
yeah.
because we had brought our VCRs were compatible to make, you could make copies of VHS tapes.
Oh yeah. No, totally illegal.
And we made several copies. We played them so much the tapes stretched and wore out. It was just on relentlessly. The summer of '85.
Man.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's
And to chronicle that the World Slavery Tour, one of the largest in history, which was amazing. And I love in the inlay of the booklet where it has all the stuff they went, how many guitar picks, how many beers, how much all that list. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's one of that I love, like that behind the scenes stuff, like there was that remember like Hit Parader magazine and Circus magazine?
Yeah.
All magazines from back in the day when magazines were still a thing, 150 years ago, juniors. And And there was a Metallica article about the And Justice for All, and it's like, you know, 10,000 drumsticks turned into sawdust, and 47, pounds of guitar strings, and 3,000 picks. It's like, man, that's cool.
Right. It's
A
crazy.
15-year-old Metallica nerd, like, yeah, dude.
I know me
Yeah.
and a friend sat around that summer, and Iron Maiden's my favorite band as well. But we sat around and we tried to draw like listen out Live After Death, that Eddie from the cover. We just
Everybody
jam
did.
it out, and
I
it's like,
did.
oh man, it was just so
I
obsessed with.
I did.
Yeah.
My wife Lisa still has her book cover from high school with that. She's got it's framed up in her Iron Maiden shrine in our home.
Oh, awesome,
Nice.
I'm
man.
not even kidding.
Cool.
I never tried to draw Eddie, but when I used to draw Kiss, the Kiss caricature
Yeah.
with the faces and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and that was like it. Then started making like the logo, the KISS, and then each letter had the makeup on it, and
Oh,
that was my original. Like that, I probably could have sold. Gene Simmons would have bought that, the fucker.
no, fuck that. He would have sued you.
Yeah,
Trademark
probably.
Yeah,
infringement.
yeah.
Some 10-year-old kids drawing Kiss. I'm gonna sue that fucker's
Yeah.
ass.
This
Yeah,
is Gene
fuck you,
Simmons
Gene.
from
Uh,
Kiss.
You did
that's
not
right.
Going
give
to
my
sue you.
permission or
That's
balls.
right.
From
I
Kiss.
hear that Montag is using my likeness on his when he was in 5th grade. Anyway, yeah, great. Anywho, but
Oh,
yeah, Live After Death is phenomenal,
absolutely,
and the
Curran.
sound
Right.
is
That's
amazing. The
yeah.
recording,
So
the
that's
level of recording, you can hear that ping ride, that cymbal coming through.
oh,
Mark, I don't know, what you must be a Nico McBrain fan as well.
they're neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, Clive was the boy. He was the guy I looked up to with when it came to the drumming. I mean, Nico McBrain. I mean, he was absolutely incredible for Iron Maiden as well. What he did with so many iconic fills that drummers still use, and great for non-drummers as well when it comes to air drumming.
Yes.
Where he
But
goes there, just that intro. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
for me, it's always confusing when when you find out these people who don't like Iron Maiden, and you're like, what? How can? But they've got everything. They've got the stage show. They've got the songs. It's like you could even like Iron Maiden if you don't like heavy metal.
Yeah.
Because they're just. It's kind of like it's hard to pinpoint exactly what kind of genre Iron Maiden are, because you can't just say they're a rock band. They're just Iron Maiden. You
Yeah.
can't just say they're heavy metal. They're just Iron Maiden. You know what I mean? They're just their own, and
Yeah.
they're
Got
just
their own
so much
genre
fun.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just a fun band.
Mhm.
They're one of those eternal things that you can't imagine it ever not being.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. No, I get it. Well, Mark, what is your first pick of this first round of live albums?
Okay, so if we're talking about live albums, so what I was going to say, if it wasn't just like live albums, and if it was live footage or something like that, like a live concert, it would have been Black Sabbath, Paris 1970,
Okay.
because that was like the
Yeah.
first time I witnessed Black Sabbath on a Metal Hammer VHS, and that was when watching Bill Ward and just being like, you can play drums like that? Oh my god! But the fact I can't choose a concert in particular, I'm going to choose Black Sabbath Past Lives. So
Nice.
1973 in London, I think it was, at the Rainbow.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was the Rainbow in London in 1973, and it's absolutely incredible. Great energy, from both the crowd and the band. And, I've always been a massive fan of live albums, and I just think this one captures, what wasn't really known as what metal is nowadays and stuff like that. It was very ahead of its time. I mean, as Black Sabbath were. But also, actually purchasing this album, and I just think the cover, the inside cover. If I can turn this around, I can show you. Just seeing that crowd, and you
Yeah.
see it,
Oh yeah.
just
It's like
blew
when
me
you guys,
away
like when you,
completely.
yeah, like when you guys were in Poland.
Oh, well, funny you should say that. But yeah, and you know, it's just such a cool cover on the front as well. You know, it just caught my eye straight away,
Mhm,
and
Oh yeah.
it's just very cool. And the set list's really good as well. You know, you've got starts off with Tomorrow's Dream, which I thought was a bit unusual,
mhm.
but it really works. Sweet Leaf, Killing Yourself to Live, brilliant song.
Mhm.
Um, Snowblind, Children of the Grave, War Pigs, Wicked World. Obviously, ended with Paranoid, and that's disc one. And then on disc two, that was recorded at various locations during the 1970s. And that actually does have the footage. Sorry, the live audio from Paris 1970.
Okay.
Sweet. I
So
definitely got to check that out. I'm
it's a
surprised I don't have it
really
in my
really
collection.
cool one. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, it's just got so much. And like I say, Black Sabbath was so ahead of their time. And
Mhm.
you know, it's not just the great thing about the band is that like you have Geezer Butler, who is just such a unique bass player, and then you have Tony Iommi with that
Oh my gosh.
monster tone. You know,
Yeah.
whenever he plays guitar, you can actually hear. You know, it's as if you can hear that thing that he's got on his finger. You know how he lost
Hmm.
his
Yeah.
finger.
Like that little
It feels
symbol he made. Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like you can actually hear it when he's playing the guitar as well, you know, and I love that. It's just part of his sound. Obviously, Bill Ward, who's like the jazz bluesy kind of heavy hitter, incredible drum fills, incredible feel, groove, you name it. And then you've got Ozzy, who, for me, you know, is such an underrated vocalist. You know, he can sing some notes that are very, very high, um, especially in his Aussie career, in his solo career. But also, you know, if you try and sing Symptom of the Universe, good luck. You
Right.
know, and Megalomania, that's another one as well. You know, that's a pretty tricky one to sing.
Oh
And
yeah.
I just think overall the performance was absolutely outstanding. And like I say, you know, there's just something about live bands that I've always been drawn to. You know, I always get the album from the artist, but I'll always look for a live um, album as well,
Mhm.
because that's what a band is at the end of the day. You know, you want
Yeah.
that's kind of how I say it. You know, you listen to an album, but then you listen to the live album, and then you actually get to see if they're really as good as what you think, because you can do a lot in the studio. You know, you can
Yes.
fix a lot of things.
Often the energy is much better in a live album than it is in a studio album. You're going from the
Exactly.
studios to you know, perfection, but sometimes those songs they deserve to be played a little bit faster, you know?
Yep.
And that's the
Yep.
like the natural. It feels more like, okay, this is the natural tempo of the song. It was a little too slow in the studio, you know?
It's organic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which kind of
And
is, oh, go ahead, Mark.
sometimes you'll hear yeah, sorry, so sometimes you'll hear a song live and they'll play it either like a little bit slower, a little bit faster, not on purpose, but you'll go, actually that works better,
Hmm.
you know. So,
Yeah.
but again, you know, especially when you're playing live, you've kind of got to you feed off the energy of the crowd, you know. And some songs do sound better at a different tempo, and that is not my excuse as a drummer, by the way. But, but yeah, it's so true, you know. Like whenever you play live, you know, you can't tell if you're perfectly in time unless you're playing with a click. You know, there's been times where I've looked at footage with gigs that I've played, and I've been like, oh, that's a little bit fast, or that's a bit slow, or you know, and it's you can't tell until afterwards because of the adrenaline, basically.
Hmm.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
choice.
I think for them, some of that speed was due to some coke, you know. But yeah, yeah, no, excellent. Well, my that tempo is the reason why my first pick is why I like this album so much. It's Iron Maiden, Rock in Rio 2000. Because the songs that they play from Brave New World, which is a good album, um, sound better a little faster. Like Ghost of the Navigator, I thought was really good. Brave New World, um, is a much better at the tempo they play it here live. And it was Ninth Hearing Wrathchild. Oh, what did you have that? It was on your list too, Chop?
Oh yeah, it was on my list.
Nice.
Ha ha! Now quit! Now
Fantastic.
I got to think of another one.
Well, and I
Go
hate
ahead,
to, I'm
Chop.
not, I hate to interrupt you,
No,
Montag,
you're
but
good, man.
also what's interesting, the Blaze stuff that Bruce takes over the vocal stuff is so much better. It's just
Sign of
like
the
I
Cross.
would love to hear like maybe the X Factor re-recorded with Bruce's vocals and all that. Not taking away from Blaze, just was not a good fit for Maiden. So,
You know,
Yeah.
I've only heard a couple of tracks from the Blaze era, and they're pretty rough, in my estimation. But I ran sound for Blaze Bailey and his band here in Akron, Ohio, at the Empire when they came through on tour, and they were so good. I mean, Blaze, his vocals were fucking incredible. And I was just sitting there going, well, this is like 180 degrees from what he did with Iron Maiden. What the hell happened? Like it's almost the same thing, like, and I know we're talking about live albums and shit, but like Van Halen 3. Like Gary Sharon is an incredible rock and roll singer.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? Why? Yeah, and I love Van Halen 3. I'm a Van Halen nerd. But I know it's like it's a little cringy how he's singing. What's going on? Why this thing? So who the fuck knows? But yeah,
Right.
hearing Bruce Dickinson sing that era, the Blaze era, some of that stuff, it is really good. Really good. I mean, Bruce is awesome at everything.
Right.
His solo shit is fucking amazing. So,
Yeah.
Chemical Wedding and Accident at Birth.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Tyranny of Souls even too.
Yeah, that was fast.
Dude, even Tattooed Millionaire, which is a weird record. But that's a great album.
I like Skunkworks. Skunkworks, I think I really love that album.
Yeah,
I
it's kind of underrated.
I saw them twice on that. Saw them once on the
World Series of Metal with
Tattooed
you,
Millionaire,
Montag.
then the World Series of Metal, that was
Yeah.
Skunkworks, and then Accident of Birth. Saw them on those 3 tours.
Got to meet him in Accident of Birth tour. No. Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
And Adrian Smith. That was a holy shit moment
Yeah,
for me.
that was nice having him come
Like,
back.
you signed my autograph. I'm a dick. I was shaky and all nervous, sweating, and like. But nah, that was such a monumental moment for me. So
Excellent. Well, Chop, we are round 2 now, and it doesn't matter how many guys. I know we have 2 or 3 picks. That's cool. Whatever you got is cool. Chop, go ahead, do your number 2 album.
I'm gonna go with one of my favorite bands and one of the most underrated, I think, in metal history, and that is Saxon. This is off Silver Lining. It's a 3-disc set. Covers and spans their whole entire career. I think this was off the Thunderbolt tour. Even has some tracks in the U.S. So they were on tour with Judas Priest at that time briefly. So I think they hit Youngstown or whatever. But man, it's just loaded front end to back end. Even Phil Campbell from Motorhead gets on there. No, Fast Eddie Clark, and they do Ace of Spades live, which was really cool. And Fast Eddie was still with us, man. And then Phil Campbell's on another track. So yeah, 3-disc set. It was on 2019, celebrating the Eagle Has Landed 40 live.
Nice. Yeah, we interviewed
Nibs Carter.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a fun interview. That
Yeah,
was really
quite the character. Nibs is.
Yeah, see, Nibs was quite funny.
He likes to talk in reverse. You ask a question, he starts off with something else and then comes backward and gets your answer to your question.
It was a little like Nigel
very
Tufnell
charming,
at
but
times.
it
It was
was,
great.
yeah.
It was fantastic.
Saxon are such an incredible band live. There's just something about them.
That's on
I
my
saw
bucket
them
list.
at-
I want to see him so bad. I have never had the opportunity yet.
Oh
Yeah.
man, honestly, I saw them at Bloodstock, and that, like, I like Saxon, but I'll admit I've not got anything from them, and I've heard quite a few songs by them. But when I saw them live, I mean, considering I didn't really know that many songs, because obviously they play stuff that, like, well, all of the albums. There were songs that I didn't know, and I just thought they were absolutely incredible. They really, really were. So yes, go and see them. Highly recommended.
They did play in the States here not too long ago. I wasn't able
Yeah, well, there's a story about that. Tony told me that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So there was actually, I don't know if it was the same tour, but Saxon played in the States, and Venom Inc. were playing in the same venue. So it was like Saxon here and Venom Inc. in the other, whatever stage it was.
Wow.
And um, Tony basically said, "Why don't we see if we can just do a gig together?" So I think it was the tour manager, whoever it was. I wasn't in the band at this point. Went up to Bill and and asked if they could do the show together. And Bill Burr just went, "No, fuck off, no way."
Oh,
So there you go.
great stuff.
Rejected.
I don't know why he said that, but
That'd have been fun.
that's quite funny.
You know,
It would, yeah.
we Chop and I went to go see it was Fates Warning, Dream Theater, and Queensryche
Queensryche.
down
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
in the flats at
Naples
Nautica,
Pavilion.
Curran.
Yeah, Nautica.
And at
I was
the
at that
end,
show.
like, were you? Okay, so
Yeah.
and then
Sweet.
the encores, like everybody came out. All three
Yeah.
bands, everyone was playing at the same time. It was
Comfortably numb and
it was the most awesome experience.
hold-
You know, Take Hold of Flame. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great show. I would have loved to see Venom Inc. and Saxon together. I mean,
Yeah, I would have
yes,
been.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
I just realized I got the name wrong. It's fucking Biff, isn't it? Biff Boyfriend.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Biff
my
Boyfriend.
bad.
Well, we actually on this US run, we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, playing at Sisters Lounge. If I got the city and state right, I know I got the venue right. But Pentagram was playing down the street same night, and Tony for like 2 weeks was trying to like, hey guys, why don't we move everything to one venue and we'll both do a co-headlining thing, both play as long as we want. I think Tony even offered like, hey, we'll go first, so there's no like a ego concern. Not saying that Pentagram's like, well, fuck you, we won't open nothing, no shit like that.
Right.
But Tony was like, this would be a really cool way. That way we're not like fighting each other, and
Yeah.
like, well, I gotta make our fans got to make a choice between Venom Inc. or Pentagram, and the answer was no. But let's all get together for dinner. All right, well that'll be fun. Have dinner with Pentagram. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
And then we get there the day of the show. It's like, yeah, they don't want to do dinner either. It's like, oh, what the
Ah.
fuck, man? But I mean, we still had a great show. We had a great time, a great show at our thing, and I think their show was sold out too. And it's like, all right, so hey, Albuquerque, New Mexico has a healthy metal scene. So
Nice.
Very
Good
nice.
to
That was a great show as well.
the
It was a great
Pentagram show, or
Yeah.
our show at the
Yeah.
yeah, that was, dude, that was out of control. That was
It
absolutely
was.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So Curran, you have another live album that you'd like
I
to
actually, so I was brainstorming while I was sitting here, and you guys are going through your lists and stuff, and going, oh wait, I do know a couple other live albums that are fucking great that I should mention.
Excellent.
So do we have to do it in order of awesomeness,
No.
or to just do it
Nope.
however the hell we want?
I don't
All
have
right.
any order. Here are the
All
five
right.
that I'm going to talk about.
All right, so for me, as a young guitar player, Randy Rhoads tribute album.
Oh yeah.
Because you get the intro music that Ozzy used to do, and then he comes out and let the madness begin, and then they come out and with Crazy Train.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're firing on all cylinders that night, and
Oh,
just
man.
straight fire the whole set. I mean, even when they dive into the Sabbath shit, like Children of the Grave, Paranoid, all that Sabbath stuff, and they do Goodbye to Romance, and just kill it. The guitar solos,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
and the drum solo, Tommy Aldridge's drum solo, where
Oh.
I didn't know what the hell was going on back then. I had to have an older guitar player musician explain, who had like seen Tommy Aldridge on tour with Ozzy. Like, no, dude, he would do this thing, like he starts the solo and he's going and he's doing his thing, and then he stands up and here, listen to it right here, and you'll hear it where the crowd starts cheering. That's when he throws his sticks into the crowd, and then he starts playing with his hands. And it's like,
Yeah.
is that why it's like the and then you see that move that he does, and he still does that shit live, and it's like, fucking awesome. It's just a little 15, 16-year-old kid listening to this going, oh shit, like, wow, listen to that drum solo, and I'm a guitar player, and that's probably where my fascination with like drums and drumming and great drummers comes from. Is like that record. Like now I can hear it when he throws the sticks. I think I almost hear him clicking together as he throws them. Oh my God. And then you can hear the hands. Fuck, man. And he's
Yeah.
hitting with the cymbals, in that part where and it's just like, dude, how does he not break his hands or slices? Oh my God, so fucking cool. And then of course the Suicide Solution solo
Oh, dude.
is
Yeah.
incredible. Everything about that live record. And again, it's that same kind of thing with like the, Live After Death, where they're, they literally, there's an energy there and the mix is so killer and so good. And it's just ridiculous. I think, isn't Geezer Butler playing on that record too? Like he had Geezer with him, or was it Bob Days? I don't, nobody quote me on that. I can't remember that far
Was it
back.
maybe Rudy? Maybe it was Rudy.
Rudy
I don't
Sarzo?
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, just everything about like that live record. And then,
Yeah.
again, being a young guitar player and not knowing, ever the history of Ozzy Osbourne, the history of Sabbath, not even having those two Ozzy records with Randy, I just got Tribute. And then I'm like, well, what does it mean? What Tribute? What? And it's like, oh, well, Randy Rhoads died. What? And then you learn, it's like, oh. So
What
I'm always late to the party. And then I find out the story of all the cool shit that happened before I got there. So I'm there to help clean up.
what's what's amazing, Current, on that album too is not just the Suicide Solution solo, but you can hear Randy does some different stuff in his solos throughout the album. He
Yeah,
stays true to it, like the record, but he's doing some different things, subtle stuff in there that's just
yeah.
like, wow, it just adds that much more flavor
Well,
to it.
that there's actually an interview he did where he said that the both of those records, he's like, we were so rushed, we had no time, so I would write the solo, and then record it like 10 minutes later, and then Max Norman, who produced those records, you know, um, he has said in interviews where it's like, no, Randy, he may say that he just like kind of put it together and wasn't really happy. But, some of those solos are like triple tracked, where he played the solo three times in a row exactly. And it's like, yeah, you could say it's just thrown together, pal. But yeah, what the, so, then, like being on tour in a band for people that haven't done it, where like with Venom Inc., before we started the Beyond the Black tour this year, I literally have only played 11 times with Marc, and we haven't had like a real band rehearsal or set of rehearsals or a lot of time together to work together and learn, like, well, how does Curran hear the count? We've had that conversation. Like, I jumped the gun on things because I'm like, oh, I'm expecting this. But then after, 8 weeks on the road,
Mm.
you start to really hone in. And like I said, the opening of that record, the tribute, just right off the rip, Crazy Train, you could just tell they're on all cylinders, killing it, firing. And then you make the comment, Chop, about like, oh, well, Randy is adding little things and this and that. And it's like he's grown into, like for me, like growing into getting comfortable playing, Venom Inc. songs and playing Venom songs and playing on tour with two new musicians that I've not had the rapport with in the repertoire. And, it's awesome that we get along and that makes it easier for me to get into the mode. But by the end of, this first run on the Beyond the Black tour, like we would walk off stage just going, is it just me or is it getting better and better? Like Tony would walk off at stage and he'd, oh, there's another fucking corker and walk away. Like, well, all right, we're killing it. It's coming together. It's working right. So yeah, so Randy adding extra flavor and flair. It's like he's starting to own that shit. It, like really, like yeah, he composed it, but then you're on the road for a year and a half and you just start to really make it
Yeah,
part of your DNA. So
he's so sorely missed.
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean the other cool thing as well, like with the album, because I'm looking through it now, is the fact that you've got the inside of the the disc here, and you've got Randy Rhoads there, as if he's the vocalist.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah, it does look that
it's
way. You're right.
it's so cool because it is like literally everything about it is, it's not about Ozzy. It is literally all about Randy.
Yeah.
There's the letter from Ozzy to Randy, and then you just go through it, and it's just pictures of Randy Rhoads all the way through the
It was
booklet.
properly done. Like it was a true tribute.
It
Even
really
though
was.
it sold millions of copies, it wasn't like some shitty cash grab like after Jimi Hendrix died, where there's,
No,
40 records get released in 6 months.
it's the same repeated stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
great
used to
album.
I used to play drums to that
Incredible.
album.
Hey, who played bass on that, Mark? You got the album there. Who played bass on it?
I was just looking. It looks like Rudy.
I thought
All
it was
right.
Rudy Sarzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say. That's the thing. It doesn't actually
Oh,
say. That's another cool thing. It doesn't actually say. Oh, we're there. Yes, it does. Talking shit. It's Rudy.
All right.
okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a
Fantastic
good
show.
album.
So,
Such a good
such a
album.
good.
Oh. All right. So Mark, what do you have another album for us?
Yeah. Funny enough, it was actually Ozzy Osbourne again, and it's live and loud.
Oh,
Here's another one. Damn it.
That's with John Sykes on
All
guitar,
right, put
right?
that one out.
No,
Go
that's
No,
with
ahead.
is that
Brad
one?
Gillis.
Is
Brad Gillis.
Brad Gillis.
Zach
Oh.
Wild, isn't it?
Speak of the devil one.
Speak of the Devil is Brad Gillis.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Which is,
live and loud is Zach Wild, and it's got the bass player from Alice in Chains. What's his
Mike
name?
Inez.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Rob Trujillo. No, not Rob Trujillo, because I've just said who's on bass here.
Rob
Randy
Castillo. Randy Castillo.
Randy Castillo.
Randy
Yeah.
Castillo,
Yep.
who is one of my favorite drummers. Great performer and such a great style. Again, a unique style. So much attitude, and
Yep.
you'd be watching him, on the live version, and during like little gaps and stuff like that, you'll see him chuck sticks up in the air with so much confidence, and you'll catch them every single time, you know. But Randy Castillo's drum solo on that in particular is just outstanding, and I just loved how he played the songs his way. He didn't go by the books. He was just very much, this is me, this is the way I play it. And I think for me, Randy Castillo was, he's my favorite drummer for Ozzy because I just think he had that wild side. He was basically the drummer equivalent of Ozzy. The way that he played, he was just like a clown on drums in a good way. He was just so,
There's a
he
freedom
just
in
had
his
so
playing.
much flair.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the fills he was doing as well, that you didn't really hear much of those kind of fills, those back in those days, So he was such a unique player, and he was such a character and a great performer. But the songs in particular, I mean, you've got two songs where Black Sabbath get up and play, which is Black Sabbath, and they play another one. Can't remember what the other song is, but Ozzy does the War Pigs with his band, and it's incredible. Really, really good version. And again, Randy Castillo playing War Pigs his own way. Great to hear. So there's really good songs, and I always love to hear Ozzy live. Really.
hmm
So
Yeah.
there you go.
Excellent
Chop
choice.
and I saw him on the Retirement Sucks tour.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh wow.
Yeah, Corn
Yeah, it
and
was like, was it the third
Deftones.
song into it? Is it, we're gonna slow
Yeah,
things down a
he
bit?
opens up
Goodbye to
with
romance.
he
Like,
opened up
fucking
with
third
Bark at the
song
Moon,
in.
I think.
Oh.
Maybe no,
Yeah, yeah, I
Bark
think
at the
so.
Moon.
I think he had Joe
Brilliant.
Holmes on guitar too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe Holmes, and who played bass?
Oh, that was Trujillo.
I thought it was Robert Trujillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was song 3. It was Goodbye to Romance, but
We're like, it was only like an hour and 10 minutes too.
yeah, it was a
Set.
short set, really
like-
short. I'm like,
like,
come
damn.
on, Ozzy, come on, man, come on, you can't give us 85 minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, my next album, it's not a metal album, but it is an album by a hard rock metal band. It's Alice in Chains Unplugged. Oh,
Great.
Nice.
I just absolutely love Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
They opened
Amazing.
up first time I saw them. It was when they were opening up for the. Chop and I went to that show.
Uh,
Fuck, what was it called?
Clash of the Titans.
Clash of Titans with Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer. And
Yeah.
Alice in Chains was opening up, But the Unplugged album is it's stripped down and it's the haunting. Lane Staley's vocals are just haunting. The
Yeah.
arrangements, especially when they play like Frogs and Rooster, there is a slowness and an ache, and the atmosphere is perfect for a band like Alice in Chains to do an unplugged set, this acoustic set. But it is
Especially Nutshell rips your heart out.
yeah, that's the first track I had on that. You just hear the ache and the pain. It's like, and knowing after, wasn't too long after that how events happen. It's like, but yeah, it's just a great album.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you say, you can really hear the emotion in Lane's voice. It's actually it's a very hard album for me to listen to. I love it because it's so artistic in in relation to depression and the struggles he had with the drug addictions and all that kind of stuff. And you can hear it so much that I find it difficult to actually you listen to it as much as I would like to, but it is such an outstanding performance by the whole band,
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. And like I said, Lane's voice in general is just irreplaceable when it comes to Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I mean, the lineup they have now is great, but Lane he was just one of a kind. He really
Right.
was.
I agree, 100%.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so back to Chop. What?
Okay, this is gonna be my final pick. I had a couple others till people stole them, but
Ah,
Oh
Great
dear.
minds think
it's all
alike.
fun. Hey, we
Great.
all like great music, so hey,
That's it, man.
good minds think alike. Uh, but one of the underrated bands I've always been a fan. I was introduced to them first in 1986, "Awaken the Guardian" album, and that's Fate's Warning. And this
Oh.
is the Fates. This is celebrating 40 years, "Awaken the Guardian" live on Metal Blade, and has the original lineup with John Arch, Steve Zimmerman, Joe DiBiase, Frank Aresti, and Jim Matheos. And it's incredible. It's 2 recorded shows. They do one at Keep It True Festival, and they do also Prague Power here in the States. And man, they did that entire album live. And then they threw in some bonuses from some of their earlier stuff, even like let me see, The Apparition, Damnation, Epitaph, Night on Brocken. It's a fantastic history and such a fantastic underrated album, underrated band. And Jim Matheos is a phenomenal guitar player and composer, writer. So that's my last choice.
Yeah, we're both Fates Warning fans for sure. You guys,
Mhm.
what I saw you both nodding. So have you listened to this album or?
I've not listened to
No,
that,
no.
but big respect for Fate's Warning for that. I always feel like they were one of those kind of unfortunately like always under the radar. Like everybody know, dude, Fate's Warning. Oh, Fate's Warning. Oh man, they're so fucking Fate's. But like they never got beyond that weird kind of whispering about Fate's Warning thing. Like everybody, you throw on Fate's Warning, even if you don't know the song, it's like, oh man, that's good. That's so. What is that? Oh, that makes sense. It's Fate's Warning. It's good. Um. So yeah, very cool band. Very cool band.
Yeah,
And
I got to
actually,
meet Ray Alder and Jim Matheos in oh gosh, they're touring for the Parallels album at Flashes in Cleveland. No
Yeah.
Flashes, and they were so just awesome. And Jim he didn't talk much. He's at Apple's, but he signed my ticket stub, and then Ray, he had to get going. He would have talked more, but he had other interviews to get to and stuff, of course. But that was a nice moment for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Fate's Warning is a good band, man. Good band.
Excellent. Okay, that was your last one. Okay, Curran, do you have another one you'd like to introduce?
I do. We're gonna nerd out here. Van Halen live without a net.
Oh yeah,
When they
Wow.
took over New Haven, Connecticut, and destroyed. Yeah. So I know that it was actually it was a live video that they did first, but that concert was beyond incredible. It was, you couldn't make a stronger statement that, it's Sammy Hagar, it's Van Halen, it's not, the death of a band. It's on that 5150 album, and 40,000 maniacs showed up to sing along with them, and all the big stage and the ramps, and Sammy up in the rafters. They come out playing. What did they come out playing? Was it I Can't Drive 55, or was it no? It was rock and roll. Led Zeppelin rock and roll.
Oh yeah.
They come out smashing on a Zeppelin tune, and there's obviously the Eddie Van Halen solo break where he does all the eruption stuff, and the Alex Van Halen drum solo, and where they have like he's doing the kicks, and they put the pitch shifter on it, and like all that, those little things, and the Michael Anthony bass solo, he's smashing it and all that shit with the Jack Daniels bass. But there's this one part in the middle of one of the songs, and I want to say it's Summer Nights, where there's a big huge on the record. It's like an 8-bar solo, and on this they expanded it to like a 2 or a 3-minute solo where Eddie is just going off, and it's not just like shreddy tapping stuff. Like he's playing all the jazz notes, and it's so killer. Hearing him live stretch out like that, and again that energy and that excitement that they're having as a band with this new singer. They've got a new lease on life. 5150 comes out, sells like 1 million copies like in 2 weeks.
Right.
Everybody was saying Van Halen was dead without Diamond David Lee Roth. And they go to New Haven, Connecticut, and they do this video. They filmed over 2 days, and this is from Sammy Hagar's book, because I'm a huge Van Halen nerd, where it's like we filmed 2 days. The first day, the record company came out to the show with the $1 million shoot. Right, they're bringing out these cameras, and they're like, Eddie, we got to keep Eddie sober. Eddie has to stay sober because we're filming. This is a big deal. He can't be a fucking mess. Because already back then the word was out. The Van Halen, they're all a bunch of drunks and all this shit. And they filmed the first night, and it was a disaster because Eddie was sober. And the next night, record label's there, and Sammy walks up to him and he's like, "You're gonna let us do what we do, no matter what. If Eddie has drinks or whatnot, we're fucking doing it how we want to do it." And that's the night you got.
Wow.
That was the and
Yeah.
And I always joke about Van Halen, like you can hear this Eddie's playing, you can hear the 6-pack working, that groove and that laid back and all that shit, and his shuffle. And it's amazing the looseness that he has that still just grooves so fucking hard. And brilliant live record. Brilliant live
Yeah.
record.
Absolutely agree. And that version, Curran, of ain't talking about love on that too is
Yeah.
really smoking. That's a good
Yeah.
version.
Mhm. Absolutely. And Sammy, it was always weird about playing the David Lee Roth era stuff. He didn't want to be in a cover band, and I can respect that, and but the stuff that he did when the songs that he sang from the Dave era, are still he put himself into it, and they sounded
Mhm.
great, and
Absolutely.
then there's the true story of back in 1978 when they were doing Van Halen 1. They signed Van Halen because of Eddie Van Halen, not because of the band. And they get him in the studio, and Ted Templeman, the producer, and Don Landy, the engineer, are just cringing at David Lee Roth's vocals. He's just not any good. He's out of key. He's out of time. What the fuck are we going to do? How do we make this work? They literally were ready to pick up the phone and call Sammy Hagar to be the fucking singer of Van Halen on Van Halen 1. Because he just gotten out of Montrose, had nothing going on,
Yeah.
and they were sitting there, but Ted Templeman's like, no, I think there's something there. I just got to figure out how to make it work because he's not a singer. He's more like a Carney Barker. How do we? And they figured out, they got the formula for Van Halen with David Lee Roth. But
That's a wild story. Yeah.
Yeah, Van Halen nerd here. So
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great,
No,
man.
I love all those stories. Like,
Wow.
here's another Van Halen story. I apprenticed under the guy who built Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstrat, Lynn Ellsworth of Boogie Body Guitars.
oh,
That's who I learned
really?
how to build guitars from.
My gosh.
Oh, so that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about sometime when you were between tours, like your whole guitar thing and how you got into that, So,
Sweet.
well, we still have good stuff
Six
coming.
degrees of separation.
That's all right.
Instead of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's 6 degrees of Van Halen.
That's right. Mark, do you have another live album that you'd like to introduce to us?
Yeah, it's kind of cool because before I couldn't really think of any live albums, but ever since you've been mentioning these albums, all of a sudden my brain's going, oh, this, and that,
Yep.
and that.
Exactly what
So,
happened to me.
yeah. So the next one for me is Operation Live Crime.
Oh,
It's like, so I mean, I absolutely love Jeff Tate's voice, and I think Queensryche are one of the most underrated bands ever. Their musicianship is out of this world, and especially when Chris DeGarmo was in the band, the songwriting was incredible. And even Scott Rockenfield, for me, his drumming again, a unique drummer.
Yes,
I'm
a hard hitter,
as you can
really hard
probably
hitter.
tell, yeah, and so solid, and just totally different from any other drummer I've heard. You you can't pinpoint it, but it's just something different about his playing. Like the way that he goes into each section in songs and stuff. It's just not what you expect, but it totally works.
Yeah.
And his hi hat, his work on the hi hat and stuff like that as well. But yeah, I mean, Queensryche, especially that lineup, was just absolutely incredible. I mean, Operation Mindcrime is one of the best, concept albums ever created. Hence why, Queensryche kept trying to do Operation Mindcrime 2 and 3 and blah, 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 blah. And it just never worked. But Operation Mindcrime itself is incredible. To hear that album as a whole live was amazing. And it was part of, Metallica's Black Album tour as well when they recorded it. So
Absolutely.
another cool thing.
Great choice.
Nice. Yeah, that's a phenomenal album. And we talked about it. We had mentioned it before. We had done a was it a Slugfest? Yeah, with it
versus Dream Theater's Scenes from Memory.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, great album. Yeah, phenomenal album there.
I really liked the bass player in that band. I always thought his bass tone
Eddie Jackson.
Incredible. Like always, it had that grand piano sound. That but it sounded so majestic.
And his tone set him apart. Really
and
sounded
fucking
great.
proper, like proper bass tone. And then the producer on that record, Neil Curran, he and I were friends on Facebook, and I know him from my time in Nevermore, because he produced the first couple Nevermore records. So at like the Politics of Ecstasy CD release party when I was playing guitar for them, he flew out to Seattle and we're all hanging out and everything, and he would tell stories, obviously. But he came up on my newsfeed a few months ago with a story about Queensryche and Scott Rockenfield and how they got, and I don't know what album it was. I'm going to assume it was, either Rage for Order or Operation Mindcrime, because he produced both of those, I believe. But he's like, back in the day, kids, to get that drum sound, literally Scott played in a giant concrete 1,000-foot warehouse, and I put microphones all up and around it and had to move them around to get them in phase, to get the sound to hit the mics at the right time. And that's how we got those reverb and snare sounds. It wasn't just some digital plugin that you can get for $99. You had to know what you were fucking doing. I'm like, fuck, damn it, Neil, you're the man.
It was real room reverb. That's amazing.
Yeah, and
wow.
That's one of those things, about all these records we're talking about, come from studio records where it wasn't just, all to a click and all quantized and triggered and, the digital this, digital that. Like, man, if you had people would go to certain studios because they had like the plate reverb. They had the big, huge metal plate in
Mm.
off to the side of the room, and that would do that sound. We got to have that sound. And you read stories like that from these producers from back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and it's so cool. And then we talk about these records and these musicians like, God, his sound was so unique. His sound, his playing, this, that, and the other. And it's not only is it the great player that you got to play to tape that, oh, we'll fix it in the edit, and then, they get so good in the studio that we get these live albums that 20, 30 years later, it's still like fucking dick hard. Fuck, man, that album. Oh, dude. Oh, it's so great. It's fucking great.
It is awesome, man.
Not to
Has
get
anyone seen the footage of Jeff Tate singing "Rage for Order" in the studio?
no.
I haven't seen that.
Oh man, it's absolutely incredible. Just that's the thing with Jeff Tate. Unlike a lot of vocalists, he doesn't just stay on the same level and then up. He kind of goes down and then up again and then in the middle and then up and down. Just such a incredible, unique voice and approach to uh, what he recorded vocally. And that's another great Queensryche live. I don't know if they did a live. They did a live unplugged, but I don't know if they released it as an album. But that's another great unplugged
Just to piggyback
band.
on that, Mark, a little bit. They when they did their debut EP, now I got the reissue, and they put the Live in Tokyo show on there, where you got Take
Oh
Over playing
yes,
live, and oh my God, when I first, me and Montag, we first said, you first hear that song and you want to direct people to Queensryche what to expect. That's the first song you give them, because it's just like that.
exactly.
When
And
he hits that note, it's
Mhm.
just like, what
yeah,
the fuck? So,
yeah. So when I was in a band called Control the Storm, we played Hard Rock Hell Festival in Ibiza, and Jeff Tate was actually headlining with his band, and just to like, so I was like behind him basically watching him sing, so I was just kind of behind the curtain watching him sing was just incredible. You know, he's just such an incredible vocalist.
Mhm. Yeah. You had mentioned about Mark Rockenfeld or Scott Rockenfeld. The last time I saw Queensryche, my seat, I was close to the stage, but I was kind of higher up, so I could kind of look down and watch him play. Because before, usually the drummer's up, but you really can't see what they're doing from
Yeah,
overhead.
exactly.
And they didn't have a
Yeah,
drum cam. So I was watching him and I thought he is a really busy drummer. Like there's a
yeah,
lot
he
of
is.
things that he does that you don't necessarily hear it, but when you watch him or I'm watching him play, like, oh, that's the sound. That's what I'm hearing, those ghost notes and things like that. And that's one thing I was came away so impressed with was like, I mean, he's always been a great drummer, a heavy hitter, but watching him play and perform, because that's usually when I go to if I can see the drummer, I'm usually watching the drummer. Um, just like, oh, okay. I was blown away by the things that he did that I didn't hear until I saw him play it.
Exactly, and it's all these little tiny things that make such a big difference in someone's playing, in their creating their own sound is all these ghost notes, all these tiny little extra bits of spice that you just don't realize that they're doing. And once you can actually see what they're doing, then you're able to understand. Um, but yeah, incredible drummer, especially his drumming on the early albums as well. But he just he he perfected his own playing, I think, when it came to studio recordings. It was like not that he was ever really fully about Flash, but there was some moments where it was very much kind of like, that's cool, that's cool. But there's other things you could put in when now I think he was, especially on Empire and Operation Mindcrime, it was very much like he just sat in the pocket and really uh, not simplified. I don't think that's the right way to kind of describe what he did, but I think it was perfected his drumming style in a songwriting sort of style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so it's easier to understand for the listener, I think, is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah. He's serving the song, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's great. And those albums are phenomenal. And I love, you know, on the Sweet Sister Mary, that reverb on that snare. It sounds like he's in the middle of
Yeah.
a giant brick. It's like a 4 second decay. I'm like, oh, getting all chubby. You know, like, oh yeah,
Oh my.
bring on the
Oh
reverb.
yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of chubby, this next track, my next track, it's Black Sabbath Live Evil, with
Nice.
Dio. Yeah. And, the recording's kind of raw, which I kind of love the live recordings of this era when it sounds like it's a little raw, like someone's got a little condenser mic and they're just sticking it up in the air, you know? It doesn't sound like that, but what we hear was the first, like, really like the live recordings when Dio's in the band. And then I really like hearing the songs that he recorded, Children of the Sea, especially the Mob Rules, which I just absolutely love. Just a fucking amazing song. But then hearing him do like War Pigs and some of those classic songs where you're expecting, okay, I'm like, okay, Dio's a phenomenal voice. How's he gonna tackle the song? And he just has made it his own. It's just like Dio, the DNA of him is all over these songs, and it's such a it's so it doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't feel forced. You know, the song choices were, I think, very particular, but Dio's able to sing anything. Um, but anyway, Black Sabbath Live Evil is,
Well, Montag, it's interesting you say this because I got this from a gift card from work, and it's the Live Evil Super Deluxe CD, 40th
Oh.
anniversary. Oh yeah, this is just sweet. It's got a remix of the Live Evil original disc too, which is actually pretty good.
mhm.
But the remaster sounds fantastic too. The remix actually has stuff where there's extended things of uh, Ronnie singing and maybe talking to Tony on stage. You can hear certain things like that. But this is well worth the money. This is
Very
beautiful, and that
nice.
artwork is just iconic for it
Very
out. That's
cool.
the thing. So yeah, I had to bring that up, of course.
Very, of course you did. Yes, very
Yeah, where's
nice.
your surprise face, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, no, that's good. Yeah, no, that's nice.
Yeah,
Well, see, and you have one more album in you. You know, look at that. Even
I did.
though, you know,
Yeah,
exactly. Uh,
yeah. You didn't steal
Curran,
another one from me, so it's
that's
okay.
right. Yeah, you stole it. That's two out of five. Curran, do you have another album you'd like to share with us?
I do, and this one's a little bit from left of field, but the album by the MC5, Kick Out the
Yeah,
Jam.
kick out the
Yeah,
jams,
man.
motherfucker.
The birth, the pure, what I would call the pure true birth of fucking American punk rock. That album, like that album was it just, I mean, you're kind of lost. I'm lost for words trying to describe it to people. It's just the kind of thing like, man, fuck you, you got to listen to it. Fuck you, you have to listen to it. Whether you
Mhm.
like it or not,
Yes.
you're gonna understand what this is supposed to be at the end of it. And you're either gonna be like, yeah, I want more. Or, oh, I hate that bothers me. Good. That's punk. You either like it or it pisses you off. And that's exactly what punk rock is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And really, punk rock was the precursor to metal, which is supposed to you either you'll die for it or you fucking hate it and want to destroy it. And that band was so combustible. I
Yeah.
mean, even that kick time to kick out the jams. Let's kick out the jams.
Hmm.
That was a burn against other bands that they were playing with. Like, man, we're gonna go up there, we're gonna kick these fucking assholes off the stage so we can play. And to me, it means let's go. Let's get ready to throw notes and throw hard and go. Fuck. And
Hmm.
it's just again that punk rock, you know, let's kick out the jams, motherfuckers. Like
Hmm.
that was so shocking when that was heard.
Yeah.
That Elektra Records, they had to edit it out. They couldn't get it into stores. There was even one store that like was going to ban every release from Elektra if they released this album by that band. Like that's a band that was changing the world and nobody understood. Nobody knew why. And it was
Mhm.
just that one power moment of, you know, we're punk. We're not here to conform. And that's to me still is what metal is. I'm not here to conform. I'm not here to do it how it's expected to be done. Fuck you, I do it the way I want to do it.
You're here to fuck shit up.
And
As
if
they say,
and
it's
if
Step
people like
Brothers.
what I do, great. And if you don't,
Fuck off.
be no, not even fuck off. Come up and tell me, and I'll buy you a fucking beer. Because I can respect somebody coming to my
That's
face
true.
and tell me, fuck you, man, I hate your shit. Awesome. Let's go get a beer. Because you may hate my shit, but
That's
that
true.
doesn't mean you hate
Yeah,
me.
different way to look at it.
You
Sure.
know, and I've said that in interviews a million times, you know, and it's just true. And that punk rock thing about, hey, it's fucking metal, man. It's time to get wild, time to get crazy. It
Oh
shouldn't
yeah.
be safe and easy and pretty. There should be some ugly in it. So let's kick out the jams, motherfuckers. I mean, God, yeah, just saying that shit.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
heavy
feel
as
free to
fuck.
say it.
Yeah. I
That's
have
heavy as fuck.
it is. I
Right.
have the catalog, and that's the album I go to because that
Yeah.
live, it's a better live album or a better live band, and they're just fucking ferocious on that album.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love, and
Yeah.
that's my favorite version of that song. It's a great song anyway, but
Oh
hearing it
yeah.
live,
Yes.
like you could just feel the energy, And yeah, and I was like the first time I heard it, I'm like, oh my God, motherfucker. Wow, what year was this? That was like, wow, that's awesome.
You
Yeah.
could hear the Nixon cabinet clutching their pearls. We need more napalm. Detroit is burning. Why did Nixon fucking napalm it? What the
Okay, Mark, do you have any more albums that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, and I question if me and Curran have been doing the same thing and kind of not saying it just because we're both huge fans of the band. Curran, can you guess what I'm going to say?
I don't want to guess because I'm going to be wrong.
Okay,
Spill it.
so it's Metallica live shit, Binge and
Ah,
Purge.
Oh damn, yeah.
So, all right. So, this is where so I am, as the world has to know by now, I'm a huge Metallica nerd. I only ever wanted to be James Hetfield and play rhythm guitar, but because I knew my scales, I always got stuck playing solos. I love Metallica. I fucking love Metallica. It's the reason why I ruined my life with music. It's awesome. But I do not like live Metallica records. Dun dun dun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because the muscle and the meat of what Metallica is, I haven't heard it live yet.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt here, right?
Please do.
So,
I've just been
live.
fired from Venom Inc.
So live shit for me is awesome. The only thing for me is the DVD that you get, the Seattle DVD, is that to me is the pinnacle of what Metallica is about and is live. Is the And Justice for All tour. That footage is just absolutely incredible. And that was kind of, well, me and Curran both have this where both our favorite Metallica albums or album is And Justice for All. So but for me it was like that was James Hetfield at his angriest. He just looked like he wanted to kill everyone. And yeah, but Live Shit is a great album. And I think overall, included with Seattle and San Diego, I think that that sort of era of Metallica was just incredible. It was the attitude that that you could feel and the things that they would say, and even not really, well, yes, giving a shit when it came to playing live, but not giving a shit about like little mistakes here and there that they would do and stuff like that. Um, where they were a serious band, but it was never a case of like, all right, someone fucked up, let's get them fired, sort of thing. It was just very much a garage band, and I think that's why I've always loved Metallica. Is they've always stuck to being a garage band and never gone outside of that. Whether it would be them playing releasing albums like Reload and Load, uh, things like that. They were always still a garage band, and it didn't matter what sort of kind of genre they played. You know, they would still remain a garage band, and that's what a garage band is, isn't it? Anyway, you play what you want to play. It's what artists are
Yeah.
supposed to do, because artists get sick of painting the same picture. You don't, you want to mix it up a bit, and stay true to who you are. You're not doing it specifically for the fans. You're doing it for your outlet as a creator, as an artist. Um, Whether that's emotionally or anything, anything that you feel, it comes out through music with musicians. So you don't want to create the same picture. And I think that's one of the things I've loved about Metallica is, to me, they've always been a real band and not pretended to be anything they're not. And I think this, the live shit is the definition of that. That's why I love it.
Nice. All right.
I will agree with that. And like the bit about mistakes and this and that, and like again, my problem with Metallica is like there's shit that's out of tune, there's shit that's out of time, there's shit that's not there from the records, and I'm so in love with the Metallica records. I it jars me when it doesn't sound, I'm a Metallica nerd fan like that. Um, but the fact that like what Mark was saying, where it's like, yeah, there's a clam there. Fuck it, man. I mean, it's live. We're not doing it on purpose. It's not doing it because we don't care. It's a fucking mistake, and they put it out anyway. Like that's one thing. Like if you go to a Metallica concert live, at the end of the show, they mix the show. They record it live and then they mix it. And then if you have a ticket for that show, you get a free download of that show, warts and all. No doctoring, no fixing, just fuck you. Here was the show. And that is incredibly cool. That
Yeah.
is incredibly fucking
Kiss
cool.
did that, but they were charging
Yeah.
for it. I know because I bought
Yeah.
one. Because I just thought I'd never heard of that before. Because I've always wanted to get recordings of the shows I've been like, oh my God, that'd been awesome to have.
Yeah.
And so to have that, I'm like, yeah, that's great. And it was only like $20. I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
love that Metallica was doing that, giving everyone those free downloads of that
Yeah.
show.
And they've been doing that for a long time, at least a decade. They've been doing that where your ticket, you go to Metallica.com and you put in your ticket code and here's your download for the show you were at. I'm like, man, that's neat.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the thing is as well with Metallica is, they've always hit the kind of nail on the head when it comes to how to appreciate fans, because they always remember that they are fans of music themselves. And I think a lot of big artists kind of don't see that. They think they're kind of someone bigger and special, and these meaningless fans are just people buying our stuff. And I always feel like Metallica have never been like that, and I've always felt like they appreciate their fans, and they see from the fans' perspective as well. I think that's a really important thing for bands to do, and I know that we certainly do that. We try to do that as much as possible, where it's like, there's nowhere you go here. We're fans of music too. We get it. And I think so many bands have learned a lot of that type of thing from Metallica.
Yeah. Well, Metallica does that thing, obviously they know they could charge 10 grand for a meet and greet or for special seating, because they're so fucking huge. Biggest band in the history of bands, right? I mean, really, they are. Can say the Rolling Stones? No. Fucking Metallica. So they do that thing with their fan club, right? So you sign up for the fan club and it's, I don't know, maybe like $100 a year or something. I'm not even sure, but you get a little magazine and this and that. But if you're a Metallica like club member or something, the the snake pit, like the middle part of their stages, is reserved only for Metallica club members, and your name goes in a lottery, and if your name gets pulled, you're notified, and it's like, hey, you can get tickets for the snake pit, and I don't know if it's some of them are free, but some of them you can pay for, but you get the opportunity to buy them directly that way, and then you can go and you get those special seatings. And then you know that if like Ticketmaster had access to that, they'd be 10 grand,
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
thousand fucking dollars. Like look at the fiasco that just happened with Black Sabbath, and with that, how out of control that instantly went. And
Mhm.
so Metallica, they have to realize we can control how we take care of our fans. And that kind of thing, like somebody who's dedicated enough to be in the Metallica fan club and pay the yearly fee, and they can win, their name, you get a lottery and then you can win, like, hey, you can come to this show and you'll get the snake pit for free, or you'll get the snake pit for $200, and then it's like, well shit, I gotta buy a plane ticket to get there, but the ticket's only $200, and yeah, I'm gonna go. Or they do these things where they, again, the lottery thing, and like you can come and hang out with us at our recording studio at HQ in California. 200 or 100 people can show up, special guest. You just got to get there. Your name's been chosen. If you can't go, let us know so we can put somebody else's name in the thing, and pull somebody else.
Wow.
Like that's like Mark said, they at least on some level, they do everything that, from what I can see, that they actually give a fuck. They don't got to do that. Hell, Metallica doesn't have to make another fucking record again ever. They can be done. They
Yeah.
were they were fancy enough and rich enough at the end of Master of Puppets to never need to make another fucking record. Hey guys, you can go buy a house now. We already did. We'll go buy another one. All right. I mean,
Right on.
so
Right on.
so, again, I'm going to get on a fucking soapbox here, but like when people, oh, Metallica sold out, Metallica sold out. The minute you sign a contract, you fucking sold out. The minute you're on a record label, you fucking sold out. So, fuck that statement. But Metallica doesn't ever need to make another record. They don't even have to be in the same room together. Why the fuck do they do it? Because they love it. We
And
like,
that's the thing, when you say that, because they love it. One of my biggest influences when it comes to music in general is James Hetfield, because you can you can just see the passion, and the love for music overall that he has. Um, and that, there's so much of Metallica that has made me want to be in a band. For Black Sabbath, it was seeing Bill Ward that made me want to play drums. But when it came to wanting to be in a band, it was, I mean, yes, it was a lot of different bands, but mainly it was Metallica, because I just thought they were so cool with the attitude, and they're not like giving a shit about mistakes live and all that kind of stuff. And it was all of that. It was that kind of attitude for me. It was just kind of like that punk attitude of,
yeah,
we don't care. We're just doing what we love, and that's it. And it's like Curran says, if they wanted to stop, they could stop, and that just proves how how much they love music, because it's part of who they are.
yeah.
And for me, it's that's hugely influential when it comes to any sort of band situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and people can hate on Metallica and all that stuff and talk shit about Load and Reload and that Lulu record, which isn't a Metallica record. But well, it's not. They even said it's not. It's them and Lou Reed doing a weird thing, and it was weird, and okay, cool. But you know, again, it's like that some kind of monster movie they did, where they're all band therapy and shit, and it's like they're sitting there yelling at each other and fighting with each other, and rehab, and all this shit, and it's like their little manager, the Cliff Bernstein guy, they talk to him, the movie maker, and they're talking to him like, and he's explaining, it's like, look, if they put another record out and they sell another, million copies, and each of them, puts another pile of money on the pile of money they already get, their lives don't change that much. The real root of it is they want to enjoy what they're doing. Oh, fuck. So they clearly They're sitting there yelling at each other, fighting about riffs, fighting about drum beats and dumb like, man, they're just like every band I've ever been in. And they don't need to, like, they're fucking Metallica, and yet they're still like, why not just go, fuck you, I quit, I don't want to do it anymore. They want to do it. They want to make their records. And even if they put a record out that I don't care for or don't like or whatever, at least I know that they're doing what they want to fucking do, how they want to do it. And if it sells,
Agreed.
great. So anyway, all right, off the
Great
soapbox.
plan.
On the next interview, Metallica Part 2.
The Curran likes Metallica.com /org.
Ah, well then, my fourth pick would be Cheap Trick live at Budokan. Um, I used to love Cheap Trick a lot. It was like the next band after Kiss. I really loved Cheap Trick, and I know it's not metal, but it's still a really contagious rock. And especially this era, the Budokan album was great. And then they brought out a double album, like here's the entire concert, which is really great too. But classic songs like Big Eyes and Surrender, especially Surrender, because I liked Surrender because they mentioned Kiss. And at the time when that came out, I was like such a big Kiss fan.
Right.
And then I Want You to Want Me. I mean, that's just that track is the song that got them into like mega stardom. That was a huge single for them.
Mhm.
And that on that album, especially, And there's a band that had that really weird, like, you know, we got Rick Nielsen, who's just an oddball looking guitar player, like with his crazy guitars. I loved his Gibson Explorer with the checkerboard on it, and he had the 5-neck guitar. I mean, it was just like it was almost like
Yeah.
Spinal Tap, you know. Uh, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Cheap Trick live at Budokan. That's on my list of like, yeah, that's a great album.
Good choice.
Do either of you guys have any more albums? I've got one more. That was my number 5 pick, but if you got one more, oh great. All right.
Got one
All
more.
right. Okay,
One more.
Karen. All right, Karen.
All right, here it is. The coup de grace. Jimi Hendrix live at Monterey Pop. It is the greatest live moment in rock and roll and electric guitar history. Jimi Hendrix. It was his first show back in the United States after going to England because he couldn't get a job in the US as a guitar player, just another black man playing guitar who gives a shit, in our country here. Was discovered by the manager of the Animals and flown over to England and assembled the Jimi Hendrix experience around him. And he changed rock and roll guitar. He changed music. He changed everything. Everything that any guitar player does this day and age, you can link directly to Jimi Hendrix. It's all Jimmy's fault. What a great problem to have. The Live at Monterey, you watch this video, you watch this concert, and they released it as an album, so this counts. He comes out and opens with Killing Floor, and there are recorded versions of Killing Floor, and this version is straight on fire gasoline. Off to the fucking races. Right-handed Stratocaster strung up backwards through a Marshall plexi on fire. Backstage, there was drama about who was going to follow who was going to go first, who was going to go last at this festival. The Who were on the bill, and Pete Townsend knew that Hendrix was going to eat the show alive. He's like, there's no way I'm going on after Hendrix. And it was a fight. It was like an argument in the back of the room. So finally, Jimi Hendrix, who had no standing in the US, the promoter's like, well, we're going to have the Who go first, because, and Jimmy's like, he's like, all right, fine. He stands up on a chair, guitar plugged into an amp, throws some brutally brilliant, unheard of guitar licks, and says, if I got to go on after the Who, I'm pulling all the stops. And got off and everyone was like, what's that mean? And then they saw. And that's the famous picture with Hendrix in front of the Strat, and it's
Yeah.
on
Oh, yeah.
fire,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where he smashed the Strat into a million pieces. He sets it on fire, and they cut at the end of that. They cut to parts of the crowd, and you hear the Strat dying through the Marshall, and nobody knows. and they cut to the crowd, and there are people. There's like some teenage little hippie flower girl like this, just unbelievable. He literally blew up the world, and after that, everybody knew who Jimi Hendrix was. The world knew, and they're like, and that whole live record, again, it's one of those incredible. Jimmy, he wanted revenge against America for ignoring him for all those years when he's on the Chitlin circuit in the segregated South, a backup man for Little Richard, and playing for Gladys Knight and the Pips, and turn down, stop playing so psychedelic, all that stuff, the things that were said to Eddie Van Halen. But I mean, Jimmy, that's what the ultimate, that's where everybody, distortion, whammy bar, showmanship, setting the guitar on fire. That had never in a million years been done or thought of. He pulls
Yeah,
out
like
lighter fluid on the stage.
humping the having sex with the amplifier,
Yeah.
the guitar, like humping it
And, like
into the guitar.
and you can
Yeah.
see his roadies back behind, like holding it up.
Yeah,
It's incredible. And Hendrix would do shit like, he played Royal Albert Hall, played a show like, a Nothing Burger show. It was sold out, but it was, and Sergeant Pepper's had come out like the day before or 2 days before, and Jimmy had gotten a copy like before it had come out and learned the entire album. And they opened with the title track at that show, and the Beatles were there, and they're like, what the fuck? I mean, can he not do anything? Is there anything he can't do? That's how revolutionary and time changing Jimi Hendrix was. And you still can put on records, and they've still got stuff of his that they're finding and
Yes.
and mixing and releasing, and this was back in 1971. This was done in 1968. Oh, this is an outtake from, when Eddie Kramer was trying to get the drums tuned, and he's sitting there playing, and the tape was rolled. I mean, yeah, live at the Monterey Pop Festival. Check it out, kids. Even if you don't like Hendrix, even if you don't understand what's going on.
And I love Hendrix too, Curran.
Good to
And
know.
his use of wah-wah pedal too was
Oh,
phenomenal.
and
I like Voodoo Child and stuff like that.
I mean,
It's just,
well, even God damn it, the name of that song is escaping me. Oh hell, with a harpsichord on it and stuff, and Jimmy played the
yeah.
harpsichord. When Are You Experienced, when it was released, when the album was released, people were returning the record because they were like, oh, it's like it's distorted or something. There's like the sound drops out on the speakers. I think the record is defective. And so record stores were taking them back and then listening to them and then sending them back to the pressing plant. And the pressing plant had to go to the artist and go to Eddie Kramer going, what the fuck did you do? It's not mastered right. And they're like, no, this is intentional. The distortion is supposed, and the panning. People didn't know what the fuck was going on with what they were doing in the studio on those records. Flanging sound had never been heard before. Hendrix did it. It broke people's fucking brains. They had to make special little stickers to put on the records. All distortions and special effects noises are intentional by the artist. Your product is not defective. That's how revolutionary Jimi Hendrix was.
Wow.
That right there. And then he took that and he made that happen live with a fuzz bass and a wah pedal and a Stratocaster. What the fuck? You got bands canceling tours because their laptops break.
Yeah.
You want to put the desk. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I know. Ranting and raving like an old man.
No, that's good, man. That's all good.
That's fucking awesome, Curran. Wow.
In my day.
Exactly. Get off my lawn.
And in my day, we only had 6 strings on our guitars, and we liked it.
David, are you a maniac? Marc, you have one more album you'd like to introduce for us?
Yeah, so I don't think this one's going to be expected. So for me, it's going to be Opeth's Lamentations album, which was at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, 2003. That was actually the first time I was shown Opeth, and the very first song I heard, because I was recording, I was listening back to recordings actually from a band I used to be in, one of the first bands I was in called Beyond the Grave, and the producer who is in the band called Ramage Inc. Check them out, very good. Guy called Brian Ramage. He showed me Deliverance, the outro. He said, "Well, you like cool drummers, don't you?" I was like, "Yep." He's like, "Check this out," and it was the ending of Deliverance, the da 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 da, and I was like, I like this band.
Are two drummers talking?
I think Venom Inc might need another drummer. What do you think? I could get on there.
So yeah, we could be like the next King Crimson.
That's it. Yes. The chord of the Crimson King.
But yeah, I mean that DVD. After I heard even that just snippet of the live album, I bought the Lamentations album and was completely blown away by Opeth in general, and they're one of my favorite bands. And I think you know, because they used to be kind of known as a progressive death metal band, they were doing things musically that no one's ever done. Weird chords, weird tunings, and like I say, the drummer Martin Lopez was my favorite and is still my favorite Opeth drummer. He's got a band called Soen. He is my biggest influence when it comes to modern day drummers. Um, he's like a jazzy sort of metal drummer. He's just so unbelievable. Um, Another icon of mine that I got to watch at the side of the stage. At Bloodstock, I actually met him. I was quite nervous to meet him. And there's actually a story there as well. So I was staying at the Demolition Man's friend's house, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna see if you can meet Martin Lopez, aren't you? Because he's like one of your favorite drummers." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And this person was like, "Well, who is Martin Lopez?" So I went on Google and typed in Martin Lopez drummer. The first picture you see is Martin Lopez with a Venom T-shirt on, and I was like, "There's my ghost. That's my key to getting to meet him." So I actually got to meet him, and he was such a cool guy. Uh, Incredible to watch because it was my dream to actually watch him play live. But watching him on the stage, it was my dream to see him play live in a band with me in the crowd. But actually seeing him on stage and meeting him was beyond my wildest dreams. And he is such an underrated drummer. He is criminally underrated as a drummer. He really, really is. He's one of the modern drummers that actually, he plays what you hear on records and has such an incredible feel uh, and style, technique, flawless, and great songwriter. He writes the songs and so on. If you haven't heard Soren, please check them out as well. They're incredible. Yeah, this album was the one that got me into Opeth in general. With Michael Apfelfeld with such a ferocious roar in his growling voice, and then that voice of an angel comes out, and the dynamics that Opeth have, where they're so heavy and dark, and then beautifully melodic, and the harmonies, everything about it. And again, they're still one of those bands where if there's a mistake, they still release it, you know,
Yeah.
and just an incredible band overall. And I'm so happy to exist when Obeth are around, because I think they're one of those bands where, you know, in future people will look back on and go, "Oh, I wish I got to see them."
Yes.
You know, I wish I was around when they were about, because you know it isn't easy doing something that is original nowadays. But I think they're one of the bands that certainly have done that.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
that's many reasons I appreciate all that.
That's great. I love Opeth. Opeth's one of my favorite bands. Right from the
Yeah,
moment I first heard them, I think it might have been. I don't even remember what song it was. It was a suggestion, like, "Oh, you like Rush?" It was on my media player on my computer. You know, I was hooked up to the internet at the time. Like, "Oh, you're listening to Rush. Maybe you might like this band." I'm like, "Well, let me give them a try." And I looked at a couple of their songs. I'm like, oh, and that was back in their day, back when it was all the death metal vocals. But I thought, oh God, they're so melodic. There's something to them. It's heavy, but there's so much melody. Then they had those slow, quiet scenes, and then the jazz, and then the folk music. I'm like, oh my God, who are these guys? You know, and I love that how they have changed and evolved as a band, getting the clean vocals from Damnation, and then we're finally, now they're just throughout, except for the newest album. But I really love how they push the boundaries of what, like Sorceress took me a couple listenings to, because that's a brutal, ugly song. Like when you
yeah,
first hear it, it's like, oh, it's all discordant. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys
yeah.
doing?
It's like that weird sort of like
Yeah,
circus sound
yeah,
at the
with the
start, and then
keyboards,
they
this
go to
heavy
like
keyboard.
push away.
Yeah, and it's ugly and it's like staccato. I'm like, oh. Because especially after coming after like Pale Communion, which has Eternal Rains Will Fall with that beautiful harmonies, and
Beautiful.
it's almost like country, like bluegrass. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
So I just love how they evolve and change, and they said that they've lost fans who like them when the earlier days because they don't like the clean vocals, but I love them because they follow their heart as artists. Like, we just want to do what we want to do. I'm like, and it shows, and I appreciate it. And they're funny live. Michael Ackerfeld is hysterical.
yeah. He's still funny. Yeah, I remember seeing footage. Where was it? I think was it. It might have been Rock am Ring or something like that. And he goes, so I looked at the sign over there and I thought it said White Snake, but it actually says milkshake. He
Yeah.
just comes out with these, you know, these little things where you're just like, oh my God, you know, but yeah, incredible band. And, um, you know, like you said, you know, it goes back to an artist being an artist. And I'm all about bands that stay true to themselves, you know. It's not just about making music for
Mhm.
fans, you know, and I think people who like music or these bands need to appreciate some form of that where it's like, you know, you're gonna get bored doing the same thing over and over again. Keep it fresh for you, you know, and
Yeah.
it's kind of funny though, isn't it? Because those are the bands that usually stay around for longer. And it makes sense because
Hmm.
they're keeping it fresh for themselves. You know, they're doing exactly what they want to do. But you know, even though Opeth went to this, you know, kind of like prog rock sort of style that they did with a few albums, one of my favorite albums is actually Heritage, which I know a
Hmm.
lot of Opeth fans don't like, but I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
The Devil's Orchard.
you know,
You know.
yeah. Well,
Yes.
actually, I've got it. I'll show you. So there's two devils at the on the bottom of the Heritage album, and the art is done by Travis Smith.
Oh.
And there's the devils. Oh, I'm trying to move it up. There you go.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's how much I love the album. But yes, yeah. I mean, I love everything that Opeth has done, especially the new album's incredible. But my favorite album from Opeth, probably Ghost Reveries.
Oh yeah. That's when I saw them on that
that's my
tour.
favorite. Yeah.
And yes, because I love
Bane
Harlequin
of the
Park.
Hounds.
Yeah, Harlequin Park is like my one song. Like, if we had to give one song to someone to try a band, that was my pick. Uh, yeah, phenomenal. And that's the tour we
Was
saw him. It's so funny. He's like 2 songs in. He was like, we stopped and just chatting. He's like, "Does anyone have any questions?" Like, and he's like, people raise their hand. He like picked out 3 people, answered their questions. He said, "Okay, we're gonna go back on with the show." I'm like, "Who? He's what? He's taking questions from us." It was just amazing. Yeah, it was just so great.
Was Martin Lopez on that too? Because it was Gene Hoglan, wasn't
No,
it?
no, no, it wasn't Gene Hoglan. I think it was he used to play for Tiamat, I think. Blonde hair, kind of looked like Legolas, the elf
Okay.
of the rings. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't remember his name, but he was with them until very recently when he when
Oh, Axe.
yeah, he played a bunch of albums with them. And then
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because they have a new drummer now. And
Yeah, he's really good. He's
yeah.
really good. He's I mean, for me, it's still Martin Lopez, but
Hmm.
he's very good.
Yeah.
Uh, incredible album. Again, they've done this thing where they've just done something different, but kind of molded all of the styles that they've done throughout their career and just put it into one album, and it's incredible.
Hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal album.
Yeah.
No. I have one last one. Um, this was not the first live album I had of this band, but this album I think is the truer indicator of of what the band, the energy of this band. Uh, you wanted the best, you got the best. Kiss Alive for
Yeah.
me. 1975. I had Kiss Alive too because that was the era that I started listening to Kiss. So that kind of more commercial pop gun, pop bubblegum kind of Kiss. But going back to Kiss Alive, even though I know it's most of it's studio, I understand it. The performances that sound like it's a live concert really add a lot of energy to these songs, especially like Deuce comes out like a killer, just a banger. 100,000 Years, I think is probably my favorite version of that song. That's one of my favorite Kiss songs. Black Diamond is done so well. And then Rock and Roll All Night. I mean, that is like the quintessential party song. It came out huge hit for them. Um, and that that is probably the Kiss Alive 3 is pretty good, but Kiss Alive I think embodies that energy that Kiss had in the early days, before they got too successful. They were still struggling, but there was a ferociousness and a hunger to their sound that really comes out in this live album, and just the showmanship is there. So,
Awesome.
Very good.
yeah.
I was waiting for someone to say that. To be fair, I mean, I wasn't going to choose it, but I was waiting for someone to say it because it's usually, a go-to live album. So I was thinking, it was either going to be the Kiss one or it was going to be Judas Priest and Missionaries.
Live in the East.
I
Yeah.
actually picked
Well,
that
that
on the last live show.
yeah, that we did. Yeah, the first one, and I like
Yeah.
Live Meltdown. That's the one with Tim Ripper Owens.
Yeah. I
I
got
Yeah.
that, and
yeah,
the live in London with Ripper Owens too.
yeah,
You got
those are both
a
great.
version of Desert Plains on there that's
Yeah.
fucking ripping. Really good.
Oh,
Absolutely.
well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Before we leave, though,
Thank you.
I know Venom Inc. is between legs of this tour, so tell us where you're going to be in the next few months. I know you're heading to Europe,
Yep.
so give us
Yep.
a window into the rest of Venom Inc. during the next I don't know, 9 months.
Busy. No, so yeah, we got done with the first part of the Beyond the Black tour 2025 here in the US. We were out for 2 months. We head over to Europe. First show is in Weinheim,
Germany.
Germany
Yep.
on April 23rd. We're out for like 4 weeks. Play all over Europe. That's going to be absolutely blast. And then Tony has been threatening maybe another US tour. I get the feeling that we'll probably have to do Europe again because we already have people complaining about the countries we're not going to, just like people were complaining about the areas of the US we didn't get to. So, hey, I'm cool with touring. I know that Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, all that's supposed to happen. We got a summer festival schedule of some type. I don't know. Mark, are we playing like Nepal or something? I mean, there's a couple big festivals we're supposed to play that I just don't know yet. But
Yeah, we're just kind of hanging back and seeing what happens.
yeah. So I mean, I know that it's like the at least probably another maybe 6 months of touring this year. Plus, we got the two
Live
live.
albums.
What? Yeah, live albums. Yeah.
Live
Hey,
albums.
hey, what were we just talking about? Yeah, no, we're gonna be Venom Inc. We're
It's
doing
amazing how that works out.
the grand electron unfolds as intended. I wonder how this could have been. But no, we're doing Tony wants to release a special South American brutal assault from all the shows that we played down in South America, where I was first just filling in for Jeff. And then we've been recording pretty much every show we've played with me playing guitar and Venom Inc. And then all the US tour. So I'm not sure how big that record's gonna be because Tony's talking about like pulling songs from every stop that we've
Every show. Oh,
done.
that'd be awesome.
So, but I don't know if he's just talking about the US stuff that we already have recorded, or if we're gonna, include the Europe stuff, or if he's gonna do like a Europe assault. I have no idea. So right now there's those two live albums are in the planning stages in my mind. And Tony's talked about a studio EP and a full-length studio album all this year. So
Wow.
So yeah, a little busy.
yeah,
So
I'm excited as all get out. I think is that Tony has like a plethora of songs that he hasn't been able to get recorded yet, and he's like, we're gonna put everything out this year. Like, all right, cool, man. Just tell me what's what. So, but then again, during sound checks, shit, both Mark and Tony, like, I'm just sitting there noodling and throwing notes and shit, and like Tony'd walk by and go, "That's a cool riff. Don't forget it." And then Mark would be like, "Hey, Curran, that was a cool riff." What? Oh, fuck! Now I got to remember it. So, hopefully, there's some more stuff across the board. I just told Tony one day, I'm like, "Hey, I mean, why don't we just get into the studio and just record everything we have, just everything, and that way it's all tracked and done, and we don't have to wait around for anything. Just whoever's going to put out the next record, well, here's 20 or 30 songs. Yeah.
could record at your studio, and I could come down and hang out with you guys.
Well, that's a discussion for another thing. I mean, the door's open. You're always welcome to hang out, but I don't know how Tony wants to do it. Of course, custom audio mutation is available. I would love it. I think it'd be a blast. I think it'd be a blast. I was talking with Tony about the studio EP idea. Like, hey, what do you think about, Tony, instead of, like everything to a click track and like really, trigger drums and all that shit that everybody does nowadays? Well, like do it like back in the day, like three guys in a room. We fucking record ourselves playing, no click track. We just like play each song 5 times, pick the best one, overdub your vocal, do real fast mixes, no automation bullshit, just fucking like raw balls, raw dog that shit, and put out a 4-song EP and then release it with the tour. And we just play those 4 songs on tour, and it'd be the benefit of modern sounding production and equipment, but with that mindset of like how it was done back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
When Van Halen would walk in the studio, there weren't click tracks. They would just play. And you had to get good sounds going in. You couldn't reamp, you couldn't auto tune, you couldn't quantize drums. Fuck you, you got to play, and
That's why it sounds so good.
well, yeah. So
when
I mean,
Iron Maiden records, they record live. Like they
yes.
they play, they rehearse the songs a couple times, play them 4 or 5 times, and
Yeah, and then
that's it.
there you go.
Yeah.
And I think, again, Tony gets the final call on everything in my book. I'm willing to throw in, spitball ideas in, but I just whatever it's going to take to make, these records happen. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting, busy year for all of us with Venom Inc, man. Just not just the touring, because the Nuclear Blast wants the album supported, There's Only Black. And that's why, that's why Tony's calling it Beyond the Black. It's not only, There's Only Black, but it's beyond that. We're doing more, we're playing more songs, diving into that, middle Venom catalog where Tony, was the singer bass player for Venom for how many years, how many albums, and those songs are great songs and don't get attention. And now it's time to bring those out, and people getting to hear shit that like, oh dude, if only they would play Temples of Ice. It's like, well, maybe we will. And I mean, how fun it would be, to make somebody lose their mind, like, oh shit, they're like if Metallica
Right.
played Eye of the Beholder live in its entirety, you know, be one happy fucking goof right here. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that's, I mean, the year's going to be awesome. It's going to be so fun. And if the US tours is the litmus test and the indicator of how the rest of Venom Inc. is going to go this year and next year and into the future, it's going to be nothing but awesome. Nothing but awesome.
Fantastic.
Mark, any final words and thoughts from your end?
Well, I mean, as always, we all looking forward to touring in general. So, we've got it's a great package. We've got here, we've got Ada, we've got I don't know how to pronounce it.
Christian,
Chrisian.
Christian
That's it, Chrisian.
from Sao Paulo, Brazil, I believe. I know they're from Brazil. I
Yes.
don't know if they're from Sao Paulo, but yeah, they're dude.
All right, cool.
You know what's funny? Most of this tour is power trios because I think
Oh,
Atar's a three piece, Christian's a three piece, and Hate if they I don't know, fire their bass player, they'll be a three piece. Not a, I'm kidding. I don't know why would they fire the bass player? He seems so nice.
well, yeah. I mean, we're all looking forward to it, and it's a great package. The bands that are playing, and it just looks like it's going to be a great tour all over Europe, and Europe's a great place to play. I mean, it was um, it was nice to know that we didn't end up killing each other after 8 weeks on tour, so that was a good test to have. And
Oh
we
yeah.
all got along and had a good time, and um, I think performance-wise, we just got better and better. And I think even though we did the South American tour, I think that was quite a short tour, so we didn't really have time to kind of settle in as a band, but I think from the US tour, it was evident that the more shows that were played, the better we
Mhm.
performed.
Yeah. Oh, you guys were
Um,
phenomenal in Cleveland. I mean, you guys were tight, and it was ferocious. Every song was so good. I'm like, oh my Jesus Christ! And
Thank you.
it felt organic. It felt real. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like a cover band. Like, oh, you're playing note for note. It was like you guys were owning it. It was so good, and you could tell you were having fun
Thank
on
you.
stage. And I love seeing bands when they're having fun, they're having a good time. Then it makes me feel like, okay, they appreciate we as us as fans too, and we like seeing that, as fans.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing with this band that I love, is that it is very real, and we are all lovers of music. We all realize we are fans of music, and we appreciate the fans as well, the people who come to the shows, um, because, without them, any band is nothing really, isn't it? The music business wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just incredible to meet so many people who love music, and just nerd out with music fans in general. That's the part that I love about playing in different countries and stuff. And learning the difference of love for music is a cool thing. Depending on where you are. Obviously depends on the person, but as a whole, like different countries, you really learn a lot about how they kind of have their own perception in music in general and stuff, and what it is to them, as to compared to what it is to someone else, might be a completely different thing. And I think that's one of the things I absolutely love about playing in all these different countries and stuff. But yeah, the European tour should be really cool. I'm really excited about um, recording these new songs and seeing what's on the horizon with these two live albums. Um, it's just going to be so cool because I really do believe that, and this is no disrespect to Mandis, but I really do believe that the band has really stepped up with a guitar player like Curran in the band. I think his overall sound and his
Thanks, man.
tone and his performance is second to none. And I think us three as a trio is a big thing and really works. It's definitely a band. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I'm out.
Hey,
Right.
that's good. That's good. And we will have you back, for a proper interview. This is gonna be a busy year. And I just want to put in dibs now. We definitely want to do a live reaction to your studio album when it comes
Mhm.
out. We want to do that and be able to do that. But thank you again, guys, for spending so much wonderful
Yes, thank you
time,
much.
for having a fantastic
Thank
episode,
you.
for contributing. It has been a blast to hang out with you guys, and I just really appreciate it.
Oh, dude.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, Mark was talking about all the fans' passion for for Venom Inc. and the legacy and history of Venom. That we've met all over the world. Where you get to the airport and you're tired and there's 12 kids standing out there and they've been waiting. They've been waiting for. They don't know when you're going to get there. They just know that that's the only airport you're coming in that you could possibly, and they're there. They got stacks of their stuff, and that maniacal, fanatical passion, and they just are so excited you're there. And again, that common thread of what it means to them, and it's so cool how intense all of these fans have been, and again, like how gracious, like touring through the US, meeting people that show up with armloads of different pressings of these records and t-shirts and posters and it's so humbling. And then for myself to have been brought in, Tony to give me this opportunity to fill in. And then, when Mantis announces his retirement, to offer me like, hey, Curran, we want you to be in the band. We want you to be our guitar player. And I'm not replacing anybody. It's impossible to replace that legacy. But seeing that intensity, that absolute, like these metal fans, 60-year-old man walks up to me and says, you made me feel like I was 14 again, hearing these songs played this way. And the only way to do that right is to do it as with as much excitement and as much energy and passion as they show me, just asking us to sign stuff, and so yeah, I have terrible cell reception on stage. I can't fucking phone it in. Dad joke.
Oh dear.
On
You're
that
like
note,
you're gonna be like an old married couple. Mark's like, oh, I've heard that joke, honey. Come
no,
on.
I just made that up.
Oh, that's
But
good. That's good.
Mark is still gonna roll his eyes. He's like, oh God, he's such a fucking nerd.
Curran,
Come on.
if it makes you feel any better, no one finds me funny either.
Tour tag, count it. It's over, Derek.
This is a great. We are gonna do our outro. We're gonna be signing off. We're gonna invite you to let everyone know who you are and where you're from. As we will be signing out, and then I'm gonna bring up the horns and we're done. Curran, you've been through this. You know what we're gonna be doing.
I
So
can't remember 5 minutes back. What am I supposed to say?
We'll help you. It'll be a crowd participation. You can find Heavy Metal Horror Podcasts on unsaneradio.com. Listen to full episodes or download to your device. You can find us on Facebook, Heavy Metal Horror Podcast. On Instagram, look for Montag Lewis, one word. Our YouTube page, Heavy Metal Horror Podcast. If you're watching, that's where you're at. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you know someone who would like our show, tell them about us. This has been Montag, Master of Illusion.
Choptop.
And
This is Curran Murphy, lead guitar player for Venom Inc. from Parts Unknown.
Mark Jackson, drummer of Venom Inc. Subscribe.
thank you. And what do we do
No.
next? That's right.
We bring up the
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
we
go,
bring up the
let's go
that's
listen
right.
to some,
Come
let's go
on.
listen to some
I
fucking
got
live
lost.
records.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm out of my rhythm.
Let's go listen to some live records.
That's right. Go listen to some live records. And you've been watching and listening to, okay, bring up the horns. Heavy metal horror.
This is Doug Helvering, and you have been listening to Heavy Metal Horror, the best podcast that you've never heard before.